drug. You want us poor while you get more of everything. But you don't get to tell me what to think and what to do. No, you don't get to tell me what is true. 'Cause you're just liars, cheats and crooks. Change the rules and you burn the books. And so I don't believe a single word you say. You're all liars, fakes and cons. Want you out and we want you gone. So don't believe this time you'll get away.
All right, it's a new track from Brad Schismus, aka 5 Times August. Already consulted with him. He's done some really, really good work. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him. That's his latest video. He started out during the pandemic and kind of switched sides, if you will, and he now goes around touring.
Side switcher. The old side switcher.
Anyway, that's his latest track.
Switch sides. Oh, good for him. That's good for him.
It's nice to have a piece of music that I'm clear to use.
Yeah, that's. I was wondering where you were going with that. How's Hunley getting away with this one?
Yeah, it's a fantastic video, great graphics, everything else. I encourage everybody to check it out. There's a link in the description for any of you who wish to. Did anything happen last night?
No, I went hiking. I was surrounded by pumas. I escaped the pumas. I came back from the puma country and had a good time. I just got back a couple minutes ago, so I haven't unpacked, except I unpacked my computer, which is about the only thing we need here.
Well, welcome home.
Yeah, it's always sad when you come home. You know, it's like, oh, gee, now I got to pay bills, and you know, it was nice to be free in the woods, naked and afraid. You know, doing my own episodes. Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. I went to a great Mexican restaurant last night in the middle of the woods. I don't even know how it got there.
Okay. So we'll have Naked and Afraid footage coming soon on Locals.
Well, a lot of it's going to be blurred. I mean, I'd love to be part of that camera crew because, you know, when the camera crew you never see, and the people jump out of the truck at the beginning of the episode, they take their clothes off. And, you know, there's the guy it's a 2-man crew, I think maybe a 3-man crew at times, but they're in the middle of the jungle and they're just ignored by the people who are naked and afraid. But some of the naked and afraid people are very attractive. Some of them are not. But one of the greatest jobs of all time, just filming the naked and afraid people, I think.
Well, I imagine a lot of them are attractive because they're in shape. They probably,
but not all. I'd say, yeah, it's about 85% are attractive, or 80%, and then there's some that are, you know, you really don't want to see them naked or afraid. But that's the luck of the draw.
All right, sounds like nudist camp footage when you go, oh, geez.
Except that recently they've been surrounded by wild animals, and I mean up close and personal with jaguars. They were in bear country in the middle of Tennessee a couple last week, surrounded by black bears. I mean, it was terrifying, and they were shitting in their pants if they had pants, which they didn't, so it was just coming out anywhere, I presume. All right.
Well, how about the winter? Do they do the shit in the winter?
Never. No. It's always, they never do any cold locations. It's always, it has to be. But at night, when they're in the jungles and stuff and it rains, it gets down into the low 40s and there's a lot of hypothermia and they're taken out by medics on gurneys. As people just overrun by ants, eaten by ants, tarantulas, snakes. One of the producers got bit by this crazy snake and he had to be lifted out. I mean, it's crazy. I really recommend it. It's crazy.
Well, speaking of medical mishaps, did you watch the incident of elder abuse last night?
The Oxbow incident? Yeah, I saw that. And the Oxbow incident, it was, I don't know what's going on right now. It says, I'm the president and I don't want to be here and I'm a nasty old man. I just...
he's beyond that now. I mean, it's like, I don't even know who his expressions on the side-by-sides were, I mean, just staggering. It was unbelievable to watch, and just I don't know, it's just shocking.
Well, what was your take on it? I haven't talked to you, so
my first take on it.
I mean, you saw the thing. I mean,
my take was pity, which I guess helped because it was hard to be angry at the guy who's just flat out not there. Even Trump took it easy on him. I thought that Trump, he would poke a little bit here and there, but at times he actually was looking at Biden sympathetically, like, you poor dude, you poor man. I mean, that was my opinion. I think that Trump could have gone far harder than he did. I think if he did go any harder, he would have looked like he was just a bully and beating the guy up completely. And I think that overall, it was the best I could have hoped for. And anyone who wants Trump to win could have hoped for, because I felt like Biden was a complete disaster, but he was still standing at the end and able to walk off on his own.
Barely. Down those little steps, he couldn't make it. Jill had to help him.
It was like she had to go up there to say, kind of like Obama did recently when it was like, come on, Joe. But it was enough for him to think that he could do it. And he's trying to stay in the race, it appears. And we want him to be in the race. I don't want Gavin Newsom. I don't want.
Of course not. Of course not.
I don't want.
Well, either do they. And if I can explain why, I think the audience might appreciate it. They have solidified power around Joe Biden. If they bring in anyone else, they lose power. In other words, they run the White House. Obama says famously he's got 90% of his administration in different positions in the Obama administration. A nice coy way of saying I'm running the country. If a Newsom comes in, a Whitmer comes in, anybody comes in, they're out. They're out. They have to ride this train into the tunnel and hope that it comes out the other side, if that makes any sense. These people, you saw today how they propped up Joe Biden. They immediately came out with talking points saying he's not going to withdraw. We're not going to replace him. Now, that being said, that doesn't mean that that's going to happen. That's their political wish, that because of their political power, they need Joe Biden to survive and defeat Trump for them to keep power on Gowa. So that's their motivation. It doesn't mean it's going to happen that way, because the second debate, which is September 10th, is like a year away in geriatric terms, Eric, and in Alzheimer terms. So he's not going to be any sharper, September 10th, put it that way. And I had kind of more of an aggressive take on it than you did. I was angry that Trump didn't drive a stake into this fucking zombie's heart. I was looking at it as a fight analogy. And when a guy is on the ropes and he's bloodied, watch what Mike Tyson would do. Watch what Ali would do. It's almost like blood to a shark. They get crazy when a guy is, and you're trained at an early age to do this in boxing. If your opponent is wounded, you finish this mutt off. You go at him on the ropes and take him out. He didn't do that. He backed off repeatedly. And it was infuriating to me that he didn't drive a stake through him and take him out. And I don't know why he didn't do it. I don't know what his motivation was. He wasn't very sharp himself, Trump. He was meandering. His 2-minute ending. If he went back into immigration one more time, I couldn't listen to it anymore. That being said, he clearly won the debate. I'm not disputing that at all.
No.
I'm just saying here was a wounded animal, and he had a chance to end it, to really effing end this guy's career. And he didn't do it. He did not go in for the kill. And I think you're right. That's part of Trump. That is strategy. Well, I don't think there's any strategy when you're about to be knocked out in the 12th round of a fight and you're on Queer Street staggering around the ring. There's not much strategy. No.
I meant Trump's strategy. I'm just saying that who does Trump want to run against in the fall? Does he want to run against Newsom? Does he want to run against somebody else? Or does he want Biden?
No. I'm not talking about taking him out of the race. I'm talking about politically killing him in the ring, politically destroying him. Trump's not going to be involved in removing him. What I'm saying is he had a chance to really embarrass this guy, to really humiliate this guy, to really crush this guy. And repeatedly, he kept backing off. Repeatedly, he didn't go in for the kill. Right. And, if that's his strategy.
I think it's wise, though, because he wants Biden in there to kill him.
Again, I'm not talking about replacing Biden. I'm not talking about that at all. And I don't think Trump is either. I'm just talking debate, two guys debating. I'm not talking about removal of a political candidate, which has never happened in the history of the United States. I'm just talking about a guy who did not go for the blood that was being spilled out of Biden's mouth repeatedly at the beginning. He let him get his bearings. He let him get off of Queer Street. He let him get stronger as the debate went on. Biden got stronger and stronger and stronger, and he was on the ropes. He accepted all kinds of insults by Biden that just kept throwing stuff, name calling, insults, porno stars, the morals of an alligator, an alley cat.
Yeah.
And he never responded like the street guy that he is. And it was frustrating as hell to not see him rip off Biden's head. And that was just my take on that part of it.
Right. Well, and I understand, like in terms of a single debate, but I really feel like Trump is thinking more long term, like, I'll take this because I want to take him out overall. But I think he wants Biden in there in November because that's
we all do. We all do. I don't even think that's an issue
I think if Trump went any harder, then Biden would be out. I think that Biden wouldn't even think he has a chance.
For the same reasons that I just said, that Obama is not taking this guy out. He'd have to die, and he may die. He may have to become mortally ill, which is not out of the question. I mean, he may not be able to survive till September or January. That's not out of the question. I'm just talking about their political desires are to keep Biden alive so they run the country and the world. They're not looking for Whitmer. They're not looking for Newsom. They're not looking to replace this guy. So they're going to ride that train.
Now, what I'm curious about those, because I don't know the relationships in there, because I feel like you have a Clinton camp and an Obama camp. That there's kind of
right now it's just the Biden camp, because all of them are feeding at the trough, Eric. Nobody's going to, you know what I'm talking about. Nobody's going to feed at the Newsom trough because he's a young, aggressive guy.
Oh, well, sure. I mean, and he's one of the worst that they could ever deal with. I mean,
he's going to box. He'll box them out, and that's their worst case scenario, is being boxed out.
I'm curious. Is it better for them for Trump to win in November?
No, it's not. It's not.
No, seriously. Like, is it better for them to have Trump win in November versus having Newsom come in?
No, I don't think so. I really don't think so. I mean, Newsom's going to run in 2028, no matter what happens. That's already been acknowledged. He's the heir apparent to the party. He's the future of the party. If he did come in now and he lost Newsom, he would say, "What do you want from me? I came in the bullpen, out of the bullpen. It wasn't my campaign. I started campaigning in August." There's no damage to Newsom if he comes in. If Newsom comes in and wins, these guys are out now. And if Newsom comes in, doesn't come in, he could run clean in 2028 himself, Newsom, against an open field of Republicans, which is what I recommended for RFK, by the way, who continues. He had his own mock debate, RFK, where I don't know what happened there
with Stossel. Yeah. Well, and RFK is responding to this as well. It's his silly thing here. The let's make a deal routine. Remember when he pulled this with Biden, or tried to pull it with Biden, where he said, "I'll tell you what, let there be a national poll, and whoever places higher against Trump goes forward, and the other one steps aside." And
these are desperate attempts. I mean, California's in the news. Newsom's on the way out. He's termed out. This is a wide open highway for a guy like RFK to come into a crazy state that's wide open for ideas like California. He lives here. He can walk into the governor's mansion. He could be the ruler of 40 million people with an amazingly large economy, possibly the fourth largest economy in the world. If that doesn't interest you, then you are a fraud by definition. Then your campaign, which he denies repeatedly, is merely a campaign of ideas. Every day now, I see this Google girl put up on Twitter. She puts up things about, sunscreen doesn't work. She puts up stuff about talcum powder. Anything, it's just crazy stuff that they're putting up because it's a wide open campaign of ideas. It's not a presidential campaign. And it's not even an electoral campaign. However, if he was really interested in ruling, if he was really interested in ideas, then he'd say, "This has been fun. Nice knowing you. I'm going to take the money and run for governor in California and literally take on this crazy mess of a state which today got an incredible break from the United States Supreme Court, reaffirming, which was knocked down, I think, by the Ninth Circuit, the no camping laws in the United States. And right now, Beverly Hills, Glendale, Burbank, they're shoving their homeless off the streets with shovels into LA. LA says that they're not going to enforce it. They will be sued by the anti-homeless coalitions. They will be sued. They will lose the lawsuits because all they have to refer to in the court is the United States Supreme Court decision. They will then begin to accrue from a judge financial penalties for not obeying the United States Supreme Court ruling of today, which, for people who didn't hear, reinforces, reinstalls, and reinstates no camping bans on the streets of cities in the United States of America. And that was overturned by the ACLU, leftists, and the homeless lobby a number of years back, which prevented police from being able to remove the homeless who were camping on the streets. That has now been reaffirmed in a 6-3 decision that is now reinstated. So smaller cities are just jumping for joy because they now have the legal right to remove these people, and they're going to be smushed into places that are not going to enforce the no camping ban. So this is going to get very interesting from here on out. But these other cities are overjoyed at this point.
Yeah, of course they are. I mean, that is a fantastic decision. One of a couple good decisions. They overturned Chevron, which is a far bigger deal than people realize. Yeah. I just did the legal panel today, and Chevron is such a big deal, they will have to rewrite law books because of that particular decision. And in essence, it defangs a lot of these federal organizations, FDA, et cetera, et cetera.
Explain to the audience what you're talking about, so they may not know about Chevron.
That's where I'm going. The current situation is that regulatory committees are essentially creating laws through regulation, like FCC, all of them. And when people go to sue, the courts defer to these organizations saying, hey, they're the experts. What do you want? Well, the Supreme Court just flipped it. And they said, no, the courts have to intervene. They have to listen to the case, and they have to actually decide. Now, it's not saying that automatically the federal, agencies have no power. It's saying that the federal agencies can now be attacked for their power. They don't have carte blanche treatment to say, oh, you know what? You're a fisherman, because it came out of a fisherman case. You're a fisherman in Alaska, and in order for us to make sure your food is safe, we're going to go ahead and put inspectors on your boat, and you're going to pay for them. And the fisherman sued, saying, no, wait, well, hold on. You're adding $700 a day to whatever we're doing to pay for this. How is this agency able to just say, here is our law and here's the enforcement, and if you have a problem with it, well, you can complain to us and we'll tell you to do it anyway. Well, the courts can say,
well, they did screw us on this Missouri and Louisiana versus Biden. So that Amy Coney Barrett, as Barnes has pointed out, was a train wreck, as is John Roberts once again siding with the Marxist, again for reasons that nobody can explain. It was lack of standing, Eric. They just said,
that's the cop out. That was their cop out. They just said, oh, no standing. So they didn't really decide.
Well, Alito dissented really hard, as did Clarence Thomas. So maybe it'll come back up again because they're sending it back down. So maybe there'll be someone with different standing than the standing that they were standing on, which didn't make any sense at all. Dan Bongino said, how much do you have to be wounded? His YouTube took down his entire channel. He was destroyed. Do I have to be wounded anymore? At what point are you the person with standing, is what he was saying.
Yeah, I
think they're saying the wound was not deep enough. The wound,
right, or it wasn't the right people, or it's got to come up again because Clarence Thomas has been smoke signaling and sending down over and over and over that he doesn't like this shit, and he's like wanting a case. So there's a case out there. I thought that was the damn case.
No, apparently I saw so too.
But you know what? This is like Chevron, because apparently Chevron, again, there have been a few cases over the years, and they're little niggles showing that they're getting teed up to do it. And I guess it's about the past 7 years. So that might be the first one. It didn't quite make it through. They're trying to find the exact case to push it through.
Now, what's with the J6 thing? The one guy,
the J6 thing, I don't completely have that one down. From what I understand, it was a narrowing of what he did or did not do in terms of if it was trespassing or is actually higher. But
it was obstruction, that he was
obstruction
of being arrested.
No, obstructing a civil proceeding.
Oh, civil proceeding
versus a trespassing, which is, it's two different deals. But in that case, if it may match other ones, I was really upset that I didn't have Norm Pattis on today, because that would have been incredibly helpful to hear. How will that affect all the other Jan 6 people? Because, he's doing the Proud Boys and other cases.
Monday is the Trump case, right? Monday is the presidential immunity result that they're going to release it on Monday. So we're going to see more stuff on Monday, Eric.
Yeah, and this may factor into that as well, too.
Right. I mean, there's going to be an expansion of presidential immunity, and they're going to send Trump, from what people say, I don't know if that's true, but they're going to send the Trump case back down to the lower court, saying his personal stuff is up to you, but we're going to expand or rectify or justify presidential immunity in detail, from what some experts have said. So we'll see on Monday.
Yeah, and I don't know how it's going to go, especially, with these decisions. The Biden versus Missouri case.
It will look like a slam dunk. That was like a slam.
I'm like, how did you get it so right on Chevron?
It's just incredible. It's absolutely incredible. Unless they're making backroom deals among themselves, saying, if you get rid of this, well, I'll let you do that. Or
it makes
who
you
knows
wonder
what they're doing back there? I don't have any idea.
Yeah, and like John Roberts, who,
what's the deal with this guy? He vacillates.
It's almost like he's like, okay, well, I have an allocation of only 38% conservative.
Right.
So that's going to be a conservative win. Now I'll be a traitor.
Let me ask you something. Did you think, I thought the questions from CNN were not only quite fair, but put Biden on edge. I was shocked at how direct they were to Joe Biden.
It was actually one of the best debates,
absolutely,
in terms of running. It shocked the shit out of me.
Shocking. I was shocked. The questions were fair. They were harsh. They were direct.
And consistent on both.
Consistent. I'll tell you, near the end, they started jibber-jabbering with each other. I don't know if you noticed that. They started going at each other, and their mics were live.
Right.
Did you see that in the third portion of the debate? They were able to start insulting each other directly with live mics. They didn't turn them off.
Because they were so fascinated. That was the alley cat bit, if I recall.
Well, I think it was later than that. I think it was later.
Okay, that was the part.
He was talking into a live mic, saying you have the morals of an alley cat. But later on, the last half hour of the debate, there were a number of times when they started cross-talking to each other with hot mics at the very end. And I went, oh, this is interesting. They're letting this go.
Yeah, they probably they're just fascinated at it. Yeah. Well, I had thought about it. Okay, now the debate already happened, so we didn't get to talk beforehand. But I was thinking strategy-wise, it would be very interesting because they were doing the muted mic routine. But you and I have talked about Biden's temper.
Yeah.
And I was thinking that they were doing the muted mics deliberately to shut Trump down.
Yeah.
Which could completely backfire, because if his mic is muted, he could say shit to Biden, piss him off.
Yeah,
and nobody gets to hear the comment that Trump said that has Biden going.
I heard comments without the mic, and I heard comments with the mics. In other words, one of their mics was on, and Trump made a comment, was picked up by Biden's mic. Same thing happened in reverse. In other words, you're only 6 feet apart, Eric, and these are what? Omnidirectional mics, or you could pick up sound from 3 feet next to you, which is what happened. Which is very interesting technically.
Yeah. Oh, and good point, Dixie Docs. One of the best lines He beat Medicare. Yeah,
that
he
was
sure
good.
did.
That was good. That you got to give him that one. That was pretty good. Hey, maybe these people have some questions because it was such a big event. I meant to ask you, maybe we could take a couple of questions and try to answer them because it was such a mega political night.
Yeah, of course. I got super chats to go through too. So
okay,
we'll see
that's fair.
these are rolling in.
Let these people in.
Anyway, one other point, I did absolutely love when Trump said, "I don't understand that last part, and I don't even think he does."
That was a good one too. That was also a good one,
and it was said in almost a kind way.
Right.
So that was a tempered down Trump, but he did lay into him with that. So SH is, why did they not drug Biden for the debate? Oh, he had drugs.
Well, he was sick, I think. But why not? Here's my question. Why not reveal before that he's got a cold?
I thought
why didn't they say he had a cold? I don't understand. He clearly had a cold. There was some, he was on a respiratory thing. You could have leaked that beforehand instead of shocking the entire planet Earth. I don't understand. There's dictators around the world going, holy crap, I can't believe the guy can't speak. I mean, you're telling me they leak everything else? They couldn't leak that he had a respiratory vocal thing, but we're going to go on anyway because he's such a strong man? I don't get it unless you were trying to undermine him.
Well, and here's that super chat. What I witnessed last night was a political assassination of an American president. The coup is on. JFK was removed with a bullet. Biden with a debate.
Could very well be, my friend. I mean, they're denying it today, but there is no other way to handle this post-debate. I mean, Obama came out and said, people do have bad debates. He's not going to be removed from the ticket. But silence would have meant the opposite. And saying the opposite would have meant the opposite. In other words, we're looking for someone else. We're considering it, blah, blah, blah. So you come out and say, it was just a bad debate. You got to say something. It doesn't mean you're not going to replace him. You may still replace him. It just buys you some time, possibly, Eric.
Well, yeah. And you could say, well, we weren't going to, but now 4 weeks later, new things
somebody was talking about the fact that they won't be able to transfer the money that they raised, which is completely untrue because it would go to the DNC and it would go to 501Cs and would be easily legally transferable to another candidate. I didn't understand that take on it this morning.
Well, and also
it's not like Joe Biden it's going into his checking account. This money goes to the DNC mostly, or super PACs.
All right, Jim doesn't agree. He's saying that Biden did not have a cold, and clearly he had no cold today. I can't believe anyone would fall for that lame excuse.
I completely disagree with you because I've heard him earlier in the week. I mean, I've never heard him sound like that. He sounded like he had a cold.
Yeah, I'm
not talking about his mental acuity. I think you're confusing mental acuity with a respiratory cold. I'm just talking about the weakness of his voice and the raspiness.
Yeah, I mean, well, it was like we're getting into nuance of patheticness.
I don't know how nuanced that is. I mean, you can have Alzheimer's and a cold. I mean, it's two separate things.
This is true. I had a thought it just passed by, but oh well. Hold on. Charles Blair, about 20 minutes into the debate, Biden's handlers were dumping the body in the trunk of Trump's car.
That's funny.
Hey, look at this. Dick Dickerson is excited. He's giving away 20 memberships today.
By the way, who gets these memberships, Dickerson? I don't understand how this works. Maybe
he picks.
He picks. Okay.
Right. To different people, and he gives them a membership.
Oh, Kingmaker. He's like a Kingmaker, Dickerson.
Yeah.
Go get him, Dickie. Go get him. Good one.
Eric R. is a new member. Thank you.
Eric Roberts, Julia Roberts' brother. Welcome.
And yeah, Dick Dickerson, I think you agree with me that Trump almost looked worried about Joe. He did. At times, Trump was looking at him. I'm sorry, you just
I don't buy
it. Looking at him like, oh, what the hell?
He wasn't very sharp himself, Trump. I'll put it that way. I didn't think he was very sharp.
Well, it's true. And Nick Yak, how does all Democrats defend Biden no matter what, but now all decide to replace him?
Well, they're not defending him no matter what. I mean, Van Jones is having a heart attack. Obama's speechwriter is having a heart attack. Many people are talking about replacing him.
Yeah.
And one take that I took away from this thing is the people who are his supporters, I'm talking the mainstream Americans who only watch mainstream media and only get their news from cheap takes and from the person who believes that Rachel Maddow knows everything and that these videos are fake to Biden. Last night, the rubber met the road for those people. They were stunned because this was the first time all these conspiracy theories, as they've been told, became reality. And even Joe Scarborough had to give up. Last night was the people, regular people who are Democrats, seeing Joe Biden as we have seen him, as the people on the other side have seen him. They were told this was a conspiracy theory until last night. And from what I understand, many rank and file Democrats were stunned. Of
course they were, because they've all been doing their jobs. Yeah. Whatever else, they get the update on the news, whatever is fed to them by the mainstream media.
Yeah.
And this is an important event. Okay, I'm going to sit down. I'm going to watch this debate. I'm actually going to look at the guy. And then, now they see the guy.
5 minutes into the event, there was they couldn't breathe.
Right. And here's some reactions.
Okay.
Jake Leaguer, he's a total Democrat.
Biden. Yep. Because he's got his mouth open. He looks confused, doesn't know where he is. He's lost his train of thought at least twice in like disastrous shape. Those are going to be played 1 billion times in viral video after viral video.
Why not?
This is an epic disaster. I see people online saying, well, okay, that answer wasn't so bad. No, it doesn't. Any particular answer doesn't matter at all. This thing is over. He looks like he's.
And I mean, there's so many.
No, he's right.
Would either candidate look like the caricature that the other campaign has been trying to paint of him? And at the end of the day, Joe Biden looks like the caricature that conservative media has been painting.
But it's not
and
a
there were no
caricature.
clips tonight,
Exactly.
right? This
Right.
was,
It's not a
you saw it
caricature,
before your
bro.
eyes. Look,
But this is him trying to.
Right.
They
can't just admit what we're seeing is real. They have a problem with something called reality.
I know, but it's so funny. That's called, coping or trying to deal.
So much preparation and this being the outcome.
Honestly, I think the question answers itself. He wasn't capable of doing any better than he did. He had
there's a world where he prepared to not go over the 2 minutes.
What?
He was incapable tonight on the biggest of stages that he saw. He, in effect, dictated. And with all of that preparation, he was incapable of doing better than he was. And you can't come back from that. You can't.
She's going to try to come back from it, but Chris Wallace is correct.
Yeah,
it was a complete disaster. It was such a complete disaster that even Newsom couldn't spin it afterwards in the spin room, and he's waiting in the wings.
Yeah. I mean, but hold on. No, not everybody agrees with you, Mark.
Wait a minute, Hunley. What do you got?
Let me see. Is it on the screen? I have somebody who disagrees with you.
Joe, you did such a great job. You answered every question. You knew all.
Yeah, I answered every question. Give me some ice cream. Look at me, mommy.
Here's the crowd. What did Trump do? Why?
Oh my God.
Joe, you did such a great job. You answered every question.
Holy shit.
This is how I talk to my cats, dude.
Wow.
That's how I talk to my cats.
I talk to children like that.
You just said you ate all your food.
Peas. You ate your peas.
And
holy crap, is he gone? I think he's wearing Depends, and I think something happened in the Depends during the debate. Depends debates. I think there was something going on in his pants during the debate because he started to get very uncomfortable with his pants. And I don't want to go any deeper into that. But adult Depends are a product that he should be doing commercials for.
Yeah.
I don't know where this goes. I mean, because how does he rehabilitate himself for September 10th? What is he? He goes back to the Camp David for 3 months to work on. Trump said this morning that he worked. He studied so hard that it backed him. It rebelled itself against him. Trump said he studied far too much, which is again a polite way of saying he's not brain dead yet. Even Fetterman's trying to prop him up.
Wow. And here,
Fetterman, who had possibly the worst debate in Democratic Party history until this one is saying it's only one debate. Fetterman backing him up as his corner man.
Well, here's an interesting point too.
He practices with the mics. He knows every one of these questions is coming.
Right.
And yet he couldn't fill the time.
That I thought was interesting because there's a question. Was he fed the questions?
Well, she said he was. So, I mean,
well, she said he knew everyone was coming. Now, technically, you could say, you know what people write about you in the paper, so you have to know that people ask that.
Except for one side note, he knew the questions and he answered them so quickly that time was left over. That's indicative of a man who knows the question and has memorized the answer, Hunley. That's why they said, you have 65 seconds left, Mr. President. Would you like to add something? Yeah, you bet I would. I'd like to add that he's a scallywag and a liar and a fraud. Thank you. But I mean, in other words, he answered them. So, what's that?
That's the most malarkey I've ever heard.
Yeah, he answered them so quickly. It indicated to me a guy who had memorized the answers for a test. Just my takeaway on that.
Which, by the way, is a sign of his life that he has enough power to memorize it. So there so there is a fraction in there.
Well, he did get a lot. You can't tell if they're lies or not that he had 9% inflation when he took office. I mean, he made insane statements about insulin and just crazy mathematical things that were not even close to the truth. Trillionaires, billionaires, zillionaires. I mean,
actually, yeah, did that too, and this pissed me off and others coming forward.
Right.
His bullshit about the military. I get a little touchy on that one. And I'm sorry. Gold Star families fume after Biden denies troop deaths under his watch. Remember he said, no troops died. Well, guess what? All these troops who died in Afghanistan, the 13 troops here, they're pretty annoyed with his comment on that. And I don't blame them. And I found it insulting as hell.
Well, you know what I found insulting was the fact that he brought up his son again as having died in Iraq. And Trump let it go. And Trump should have said, you know what? It's enough already, bro. Your son got cancer. It's tragic. He didn't die in combat. Stop saying he did. And just go at the little man. Drive a stake through the guy's heart with his bullshit stories. You know, he was bullshitting about the Snopes thing, about Charlottesville.
Perfect.
And instead of Trump saying, your guys, Snopes, the leftist fact checkers, if you would have read the paper, completely switched their take on it and said it was false. Thank you. Have a nice night.
I think Trump forgot because he said that.
He did forget.
That got disproved. This just got disproved. I think he forgot it was Snopes that did it. And
he wasn't that sharp is what I was saying, but he was sharp enough. But I mean, it was frustrating. It was frustrating to watch because these were such wide open punches he could have landed. I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. You could have fucking leveled the guy, especially that Beau Biden thing. I'm so sick and tired of and the suckers and losers thing. You know, Trump says I fired that general. Good. Yes. Say the guy's name. Say he's a liar. I don't know the general's name. Say it's General Jones. I fired him. He's a liar. Don't just ramble on about vague generals and stuff. It's too vague, bro. And I know I'm sure it's memory. You know, I'm sure it is.
Yeah, and especially there. I mean, honestly, I could see myself forgetting Snopes. And
I could see forgetting
outlet
Snopes, not the general who made up a story that you said. How do you forget that guy's name? What are you protecting him for? He should have been court-martialed. He's got to start driving stakes into people. And he says, I fired a lot of people, you know, which is he fired this guy, fired that guy, which is true. He says, who have you fired? That was a nice little exchange. You know, you fired nobody. It was good. It really was. But I mean, he has really got to, you know, get tougher with some of these answers and some of these situations. And people are very frustrated and looking towards him. I mean, he was lying Biden about Trump retribution, how the president's going to get retributions on his enemies. All he had to say is, you put my entire cabinet in jail, you piece of shit. Why don't you ask Peter Navarro how much retribution? I mean, he has to delineate and go into some detail. Ask Paul Manafort. Ask Bannon, who's going to jail next week. I mean, is it so hard to say these people's names?
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean, he never does it, and I don't know if he can't remember them or not. And this is kind of inside baseball, for Trump people, but it's frustrating. It was a little frustrating, when you got a guy on the ropes like that, and you don't take him out with these answers that I'm talking about. That's the frustration I meant.
Yeah, I mean, I get that.
Yeah.
Chris Bontek said Mandela effect. And I think it was when we were talking about the debate. I don't know the exact reference, but I think it's perfect that if you look at the currency, I think Crystal is from South Africa.
Well, he said that he worked with Mandela and he was in prison with Mandela. I forget the storyline. It was something with Mandela.
Biden says so much
bullshit. But I'm saying that's what
yeah.
Trump should have on a card. It just like his top 5 bullshit stories of all time. I heard you drove a tractor trailer.
Oh, yeah.
Shit. Just
how's your uncle doing?
How's your uncle doing? I heard he was eaten by cannibals, bro.
I heard you knew Putin back when he was in the KGB. Were you undercover?
Make a mockery of this guy. I mean, he's letting him establish using the presidential office to prop this guy up, undermine him. Show how unpresidential he is. Show that he's full of shit. Tell the stories and mock him. I don't think it's that hard, Eric.
True. Like, what? Why did you drop out in '88 again? Who were you plagiarizing?
Right. You want to talk about morals? Let me talk about morals. How about your daughter's diary where she said you got into the shower with her and molested her? You want to play hardball? I mean, he's saying you had sex with a porn star and he doesn't respond. His response was, "I didn't have sex with a porn star." That's a response? Come on.
Yeah, that one could have been stronger.
You think? Well, maybe the second time around. I don't know. Maybe he's out of shape or something. It's been 4 years.
I honestly don't see him going hard on him in September. If he get a repeat result of what he got last night, I don't believe he'll bother. I think that it'll be like up and just watch Biden, burn completely out, and he'll win in a landslide.
Well, it was worse than that. It was, and most people agree it was boring. And that's a crime that Trump himself usually does not allow to happen with television. That should have been an hour. It was an hour and a half. It started to drag. He started to repeat himself. His summation, I wanted to hear about, two things I'm going to say. In the summation, he had 2 minutes. He went back to the past. You got to talk about the future. What's my 4 years coming going to be like? He didn't do that. Never did it. Never said what he's going to do. And the second thing is, all he had to say, and there was a debate as to how many times he was going to say it. There was a debate by Bongino and a number of people, not a debate, it was just brought up by me and other people. The phrase, "Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago?" You know how many times he said it? Zero. Zero times he said one of the most common, obvious phrases. He should have said 72 times. He said it 0, Hunley. And it drove me freaking insane not to hear it.
Or another one, have you been to the grocery store?
Well, I mean, at the beginning, CNN says $100 groceries are now 120, right? On what planet is that happening? Everything that's 100 is a deuce now. Everybody knows it. Just because CNN says it's $1.25 doesn't make it $1.25. And Trump didn't say anything about it. And, to his credit, he did step all over the CNN host and went back to the previous questions whenever he wanted to. But all he had to say 4 times in the course of the debate, "Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago?" Very calmly, very deliberately, quote Ronald Reagan, say it 4 times, look into the camera straight on and simply say, "Look at this guy, look at me. Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago?" There was so much rambling on both of their parts. It turned out to be a very frustrating evening for me.
Yeah, okay. Well, you know what? I'm going to play this clip. This is from somebody else who actually was fantastic. Let me see. Do I have a shorter version of that? Well, we'll just start out with
who did RFK debate? John Stossel or something?
No, this
was good. This was pretty good. I like this.
So you talked a little bit about immigration, and in the past you've talked about how white Australians, Americans, Europeans are being replaced by non-white immigrants in what is often referred to as the Great Replacement Theory. This is the same.
Have I said that whites are being replaced?
Well,
I don't think I said that.
Well, it's been mentioned on your show 4,000 times. And
Really, when did I say that?
on your
I said
show,
whites are being replaced.
You have said that before.
Really?
Yeah.
I would challenge you to cite that because I'm pretty sure I haven't said that. I said
I
native-born Americans are being replaced, including blacks.
Native-born Americans.
Native-born Americans.
And
Americans who, like Black Americans, have been African Americans, have been in the United States for, in many cases, their families over 400 years, and their concerns are every bit as
confused
real
now.
and valid and alive to me as the concerns of
Oh,
white people whose families have been there.
Falls down.
So
dude.
I've never said that whites are being replaced. Not one time, and
I
you can't
believe
cite
that's
it.
untrue.
So we just met, but when our relationship starts with a lie, it makes it tough to be friends. So
Well, you've been lying
let's
about
pull
my
that back. I'm
press
happy to
colleagues all
explain what I
morning
do
as well,
think.
So,
Well, you
What did
actually
she
can't
say?
say it because I didn't say it, and I don't believe it, and I'm telling you that to your face. So why don't you just accept me at face value? My
Well, because it's
concern
not
is that
true.
the people who are born in the country
keeps
are the
doubling
main
down.
responsibility of its leaders. And as noted earlier, when those leaders shift their concern from the people whose responsibility it is to take care of to people around the world to put their priorities above that of their own citizens, that's immoral. And they are being replaced in my country, people who are born in the United States. And the birth rate tells the whole story. They are not at replacement rate. And so the US population is growing because we're importing people from other countries. And my view is that happy people have children, and a functioning economy allows them to do that. And we don't have that. And so you need to fix the economy and fix the culture and make it so that people who want to have kids can. You don't just go for the quick sugar fix of importing new people. That's my position. And if you think that's racist, that's your problem.
I never called you a racist.
But of course you are suggesting, and
Well,
I
you're also
must say one of the
suggesting that
reasons
white
people don't like people like you in the media is that you never say exactly what you mean. Your slurs are all by implication, and you're about to tell me the great replacement theory is racist or anti-Semitic, whatever. I've said what I've said to you right now like 100 times in public. I hope to, if I live long enough, say it 100 more times. I think it's completely honest and real, not racist or scary. It's factually true. It's not a theory. It's a fact. And the whole point of your question was to be like, you're a scary racist.
Well, I haven't.
And my response is, no, I'm not. Okay, well, how about no more lying in your questions, and then I'll answer it.
Okay. Well.
Wow.
This is the same theory, or as you say, idea that has inspired the New York Buffalo shooting, where 11
Oh, come on.
Two
You know what I
Oh
mean?
my
killed.
God.
But it's also inspired.
It's not. First of all,
It's inspired the worst, one of the worst Australian guys
how do
of
they
all
get
time
people
to
this
shoot
stupid in the media? I guess it doesn't pay well. Look, I'm sorry. I've lived among people like you for too long, and I don't mean to call you stupid. Maybe you're just pretending to be, but I'm totally against violence. I'm totally against the war in Ukraine, for example, which doubtless you support. And like all dutiful liberals, support more carnage. I don't. I hate mass shootings, actually. Nothing I said. What does it mean to inspire something? My views are not bigoted against any group. They're honest. They're factual. That's not hate. That's reality. And my views derive from my deep concern for Americans, actually. Americans aren't having kids because they can't afford to. And nobody in charge cares. And so that's my position. That doesn't inspire mass shootings. How dare you try to tie me to some lunatic who murdered people?
You know
How
what's
dare
weird?
you, actually?
He's right. They
And in
support.
fact-
They support the carnage in the Ukraine, but when it comes to a mass shooting, they go berserk.
Oh, well,
it is a weird dichotomy, Eric. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
That the carnage that has led to possibly 300,000 dead Ukrainians doesn't faze them, but a nut with an AK-47 or an AR-15 who kills 18 people, who's a psycho, it's the end of the world for them.
What is it Joseph Stalin said? The death of a child is a tragedy. A genocide is statistics or something like that.
Yeah.
But it gets...
Do you know what I mean? I'd be like, Hitler wore those shoes. A lot of people are saying that you're like Hitler. Can you explain those shoes? Hitler wore exactly the same shoes. And you're like, I got nothing to do with Hitler.
Good one.
That's how I feel about your absurd, disingenuous question.
Right. So therefore, you support gun control?
What? I thought it could get dumber, but it did. No, I don't support disarming law-abiding people so they can't defend themselves. So the government has a monopoly on violence? I don't think so. First of all, in my country, that's illegal, as you know. But moreover, it should be illegal in every country. A sovereign person has the right to defend himself and his family, period. And that said, I'm totally opposed to harming anyone. Have you been calling? Are you concerned about the war in Ukraine? and the countless innocents being murdered there every single day? I doubt you are. Probably Putin bad. I am. I'm a Christian. I hate violence. I hate mass shootings. I have guns at home and often on my person when I'm in the United States, I'm proud to say, because I want to defend myself and those I love against violence. That's the point.
She can't even comprehend what he's saying. It's not fair.
I'm not shooting strangers. I'm defending what I love.
She's
and if you're against
confused.
that, I guess I
love
why.
that she
Why
keeps coming back.
Yeah, no, she's got notes.
Cover any kind of responsibility for these hate crimes.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to be charitable. I'm trying to be charitable.
Why does he move on?
I was like, maybe you're just pretending to be dumb. Now I don't think it's an act.
Bravo.
Tucker, thank you for taking that.
Anyway, that one was worth doing because she
was a good one.
She kept coming back, and it's like she is literally
they're zombies. They're complete crazy zombies.
Oh my God, it's so horrible. It's so horrible.
Wow, they're so stupid. It's not even stupid. Stupid's not the right word. She's not stupid. She's quite literate. She's quite well read. But in that bubble world, she's never gone out of the bubble world.
It's no wisdom.
Yeah.
That's the problem. And what do you expect? She's probably very well educated.
Yeah.
What do you think they're teaching?
Yeah. They're teaching this. I mean, they don't have guns down there. Boo hoo. I guess you fucked up. They took away your guns. I mean, now you're going to hassle him?
Exactly.
I mean, it's his problem.
Yeah. I mean, anyway, he handled it so smoothly, though, that racked me up. It's like, well, I didn't want to say you're stupid. I just met you. Maybe you're pretending.
By the way, I don't know if you saw that clip about his alcoholism.
I started to watch. I haven't gotten through the whole thing, but it's
very interesting.
Okay, I'm going to change gears just a little bit. I don't know if you saw this, but since he worked, not necessarily directly there, but MTV News website went dark. They've shut everything down, and
it was too expensive.
They delete. It's sad though, dude. They deleted all the archives.
Right.
No, but I mean, it's gone. Yeah. All of the work and everything that they did. Wow. It's like, it's gone, and it's not that expensive to hold up, articles online. That's
no. I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying it's a network that exists, run by interns with no overhead, just the rent of the. I mean, there's really nothing there. I've worked with MTV. I've been inside there. I've been to their board meetings. I was there for a number of years. There is no substance to it. It's all just no overhead. It's run by people, 5 people. It's like the Wizard of Oz up there.
Yeah, well, everything.
You have to pay for these fees. There's UPI fees. There's AP fees. There's news usage fees, and I guess nobody's watching this channel anymore.
Right. Well, anyway, I understand that, but I'm saying that, all the articles that have been written, interviews with different people, whatever, all gone. There was a site called Crime Library. I don't know if you remember that. It was huge. It had like every serial killer, throughout time, voluminous volume, and it was owned by Court TV or one of them. And they bought it and then they gave it up, but then at least somebody paid the money and it's on servers. So while they're not producing any new material, just putting it on an archive server and out there, it's very, very inexpensive to hold.
Well, like I've said to people since we started the show, you have to have hard copy. And I just received this. I was showing this to Eric. I'm just going to watch this week, and I recommend this. This is a movie called The Fourth Protocol, hard copy, Michael Caine and Pierce Brosnan. And the reason I got the hard copy is because I was also able to find a first edition of Frederick Forsyth's The Fourth Protocol, which is the basis for the movie. The segment of the book that he talks about how Marxists infiltrate Western governments was deleted by Amazon in later printings. So I found this rare first edition. It was only $7 for some reason. So I scoffed it up this week. And in there is his description. And we talked about last week or the week before how a reporter went to him and said they've removed sections of your book. And he was completely shocked that they had taken out the Marxist, how Marxists infiltrate Western governments in the Fourth Protocol, the book itself. So it's always hard copy, people. You got to get books and DVDs and tapes. in hand. Do not trust servers or streamers. They alter it. I talked about the Donald Sutherland alteration of the pot smoking scene in Animal House. That was altered. I mean, you can't allow them. You'll never know what was not altered.
Yeah, unless you see it at the time. But they do that with movies too. I don't know if you remember Game of Thrones, famously in the first season. One of the heads on the wall was actually
Bush. It was Bush.
And that has been digitally removed.
Right. But there's a million things like that you don't know about. I mean, Matthew Modine is now up in arms because of the alteration of the movie poster that removed Born to Kill on his helmet.
He actually won. I retweeted that, and he liked my retweet.
Okay.
I found out he did win. They put it back.
Okay, but he happened to see that. I mean, there's a million other things that that are not seen by anybody with the stature of Matthew Modine.
Oh, I agree. Well, and because who's going to look at everything? I mean, there's
no.
stuff that
I didn't know about the marijuana thing. I didn't know a lot of this stuff until I did that article for High Times, I think in '96, about the drug czar secretly paying producers and networks to either put in secret anti-drug messages in the scripts or remove digitally pro-drug or drug stuff that was going on in older movies. Started, of course, with smoking. They didn't want smoking in there, and just fanatics were involved in smoking. That being said, you got to be vigilant. You got to get the hard copy, and I'd recommend you get the hard copy of Kinky Friedman's books and Kinky Friedman's albums that I could give a plug out. 79 years old, Kinky Friedman, born in Chicago, but raised completely in the great state of Texas, as we were friends for a number of years. He always called me Robert for some reason. I never understood what it was, or Robert. He never got the G. No matter who we were hanging out with, he always said Robert without the G, and I would correct him after I just gave up. I didn't give a shit anymore. But there was a time when Kinky owned New York, and there was a period of time. Now, Kinky had gone on the road with Dylan for the second part. Historians know what I'm going to tell you here. The second part of the Rolling Thunder Review, Bob asked Kinky to come on the road with him for the second part of Rolling Thunder Review, which he did. And Kinky was playing with Bob doing that. When Kinky came back, he started to perform a bunch of times at the Lone Star Cafe in New York, and that became a scene that I was involved with back in. And at that time is when I got to really see Kinky at his peak. And Kinky was at that point considered the new Lenny Bruce, and he had people coming in from all over the place to see him do his comedy with a band, the Texas Jew Boys, in back of him. So they would play their songs, and then Kinky would riff at the mic, and it was spectacular. It was Kinky at his peak. And afterwards, we would go out and party, and go to somebody's apartment and hang out, and do things that we did. But I was lucky enough to be with Kinky at that time. Ratso was there, and Michael Simmons, and a bunch of other people from Lampoon. And it was an amazing moment in time when Kinky dominated the New York scene at the Lone Star Cafe in New York. And I'll always be thankful for being part of that. He later on ran for governor of Texas. He ran for a bunch of different seats. He didn't win, came in fourth in a bunch of them. I think he ran against Rick Perry, was a governor, Eric of Texas at one point. He came in fourth. But for him, it was a campaign of ideas, similar to RFK's thing, but on a Texas level. He ran a dog pound, or what you would call for a place for wayward dogs on his ranch out there. And
like a no-kill shelter type thing or something.
Yeah. He ran his own private dog shelter out there in Texas, and he had a ranch. And after he got off of cocaine, which he loved, he moved from being a touring musician, which will kill any man, to becoming a mystery writer. And he made this transition to become a mystery writer, and his books sold amazingly well. I recommend Case of Lone Star if somebody wanted to read one of the great Kinky mystery novels. He put everybody's characters in there. I don't know if I'm in any of them. I haven't read them all, but A lot of his friends are in there as themselves. He was that kind of writer. Brilliantly came out of left field with these novels, and I went, holy crap! It really stunned me when he switched to becoming a mystery novelist. Just an amazingly super talented man, incredible songwriter. One of the greatest, saddest songs he ever wrote was "Ride 'Em Jew Boy," which is on the Sold American album, which I highly recommend on vinyl. Do not get it, don't let them stream you to death. Get the hard copy, people. Kinky will be sadly missed. He had Parkinson's for a number of years, so this was not a shock that he passed away at 79. But yeah, the music industry and also the culture will miss Kinky Friedman.
Wow. My mother had Parkinson's for 19 years. It's brutal.
Yeah.
It is really brutal, but sad to see that now. Somebody else died. I remember this guy from Celebrity Rehab.
Oh yeah. Do you
Dr.
remember
Drew,
this guy? Yeah.
This guy was, crazy. He, in what I saw of it, he, went into rehab and like snuck out and then was out scoring. And I think Dr. Drew said, like during the show, he said, I'm afraid this is one person I have a feeling will not.
Yeah, he was
recover.
right about Seth. At one point, Seth, I think he was in all the Celebrity Rehab shows, and he was in the Sober Living shows, which was a separate show. But at one point, the last thing I remember, and I love the band Crazy Town, by the way. They had a song called Butterfly.
Fantastic song.
Oh,
That
okay.
song's
So
amazing.
you know it. Okay, cool.
Oh yeah.
So okay, so Dick, so he escaped. I don't know if he escaped, but he escaped the rehab or Sober Living, and they were looking for him, and he was up on the roof the whole time, which I thought was pretty funny. And but at the end, like everyone else, he was living in a weekly single room occupancy apartment in Koreatown with a space of 20 by 10, one little room with his stuff in a corner, and paying a weekly rent to live there. And that's where it ends, folks. Doesn't end pretty. It doesn't all end in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Most of the time it ends in a single room apartment in Koreatown. Sorry, I'm just taking the cellophane off of this thing. And that's how it ended for Bisner. I think it was from Orange County to begin with, but nevertheless, this guy had more chances than a stray cat and more lives, but eventually run out of gas.
Kind of like this guy.
Now this is interesting. I sent this to Eric during the week. And I've said this before. This happened with De Niro's nephew. This happened with Philip Seymour Hoffman. This happens when a celebrity dies. They go after the people around them who caused their death. It doesn't happen to regular people. Only happens with celebrities. They're going after Brooke Mueller, who was Charlie Sheen's ex. She was in rehab with him, and they believe that, from what I'm understanding, she may have been the source of the ketamine that he OD'd on. There's, ketamine infusion therapy has popped up in Beverly Hills the past couple of years, but everyone's game when they go there is take home ketamine. How do I get it out of this office? Because I can't keep coming to this guy's office with a tube running through me under the guise of depression, having it put in there through an intravenous tube. So they want to get it taken home. They're looking for volume, blah, blah, blah. So the DEA is involved. LAPD is involved in this thing. Everybody's involved in this case now to find out how Matthew Perry, an innocent man who knew nothing about drugs, was able to get ketamine and die, creating an incredible mourning situation for the people who love the show Friends. Of course, it's absurd. He lied about his recovery. He lied about his memoirs. He lied about his sobriety and used his celebrity status to eventually die. And in a hot tub in Malibu, how fitting for Matthew Perry. And when he went public, he wanted to go on a book tour, so he wrote his memoirs. And, he bragged about how bad of his addiction was, and then he went from town to town to town, show to show to show, doing this. He didn't need the money. He's addicted to fame. And you can only get so much fame. And when you're off the air, there's nowhere to go. So these cats will write a memoir like Matthew Perry did, saying he was clean and sober when clearly he wasn't. And then he died. So what I'm saying is, if you're a celebrity and it happens, same thing happened with Philip Seymour Hoffman. Same thing happened with John Belushi. They arrested Kathy Smith. De Niro's nephew died. They were looking for the drug dealer. With Philip Seymour Hoffman, I think they did the same thing. With regular people, you don't get that. You just die an ugly death like Seth Bisner in a one-room apartment in Koreatown. And it's just really sick that they treat these celebrity deaths differently than they do someone who, just ODs on the street, of which in LA, 8 people die who are homeless drug addicts every single day.
So make sure, life lesson, folks, if you're going to deal drugs, be sure that your customers are pathetic normies that nobody care about when they die.
Yeah.
If you deal to people of note, they're going to crucify you.
That's about the size of it, Eric. Yeah, that's about the size of it. And the same thing's happened with Matthew Perry, because some bigwig said, how could this happen? I want you, a cop who works for me, to get to the bottom of this. And somebody gave these cops their marching orders, and now they're marching, trying to find out how this guy got ketamine. Good luck. Good luck. Rest in peace, Matthew.
And it's sad. All right, let me go through some more super chats here.
Okay, go ahead.
Rogue Thought. Well, Biden finally united us. We all see he's a dementia patient who shouldn't be in charge of tying his shoes. Yeah. Well,
it also shows that he's incapable of running the government and that he's not. There's two sides to this thing. And then you say, and I'm not the first person to say this today, who is in charge? If he clearly cannot be in charge, which I think a lot of people breathlessly saw last night, then who is it? And how are they legally allowed to do this? That's the question American media should be asking right now. Who is running the government? Who is in charge of the nuclear codes? Who is deploying these weapons to around the world and making these deals? If it's not him, then who is it? That's the question that has to be exposed, Eric.
Yep. I actually, I'll have to look up later. I wonder if Google Trends is going to show an uptick in deep state searches.
Oh, very good.
And things like that. If you think
let me
about
know. Let me know. Yeah, that's an interesting question. That's an interesting question. Who is running this show?
And I think people start to believe, going, maybe there is something going on. I can't
maybe they're right. Maybe he is got dementia. Maybe he is brain dead. Maybe. I'd have to vote for Trump. Someone said yesterday, one of the Democratic operatives said privately, if I didn't know Trump and I didn't know Biden and I just saw these two people debating, I would have to vote for Trump. That's what the Democratic insider said.
Yeah, well, and people,
if I didn't have this preconceived Trump derangement syndrome, which I've been drinking for 4.5 years, I would just have to vote for the other guy.
Yeah, by the way, folks, I want to put this out there to anybody who's watching this. Now, the majority of people who are watching this are most likely MAGA or pro-Trump or somewhat in the middle.
Yeah.
But how many of you who are watching this now were genuinely surprised? How many of you,
I'm curious,
think that Mark and I have been just assholes picking on Biden and complaining and whining about shit now for a while, who watched that debate and saw something different?
I'm scared.
Please comment. I really do want to hear from you.
How about when he called him a whiner? He just kept calling Trump a whiner.
Saying,
yeah, you're a whiner. Dude, I mean, there was so many openings for Trump to level him with one-liners. It just was frustrating. Let me just leave it at that.
Anyway, yeah, please comment though, because I do want to hear from you. It's not. I'm not trying to do a victory dance. I think it's sad. I think it's a pathetic state that we are in, and it was elder abuse. But I do want to hear from you. So let me see. 556 Pew Pew gifted 10 memberships. So 556 Pew Pew has been coming in hot on memberships too.
Pew Pew.
Look at this, and gave another 10 here.
Wow.
556 Pew Pew has been giving away memberships, saying, "Hey, Dick Dickerson, you're not going to."
You know what, Dickerson? You got to step up your game, bro. There's a new sheriff in town.
They did give 20. So
Sheriff Poo Poo is in town, Dickerson. You got to step up, bro.
It's pew pew like a gun.
I know.
By the way, that's YouTube terminology. You're not allowed to say that, so they say pew pew. Kind of like PDF file and other code terms, because you can't talk on YouTube like an adult.
Man, I don't know those codes. I got to go to code school.
All right, Helena Olejnik. It wasn't a rope-a-dope last night. You guys rock. Thank you.
Yeah, I look, there was no rope-a-dope. I mean, a rope-a-dope, just to explain to the audience, is a guy faking he's or accepting punches for a long period of time and then turning on his opponent and taking them out.
Ali.
Right, that's where it comes from with the Mummy, with George Foreman, which he called him the Mummy, one of the greatest fights of all time. He absorbed the abuse of George Foreman for 7 or 8 rounds. And then when Foreman was spent, his arms, I'll never forget this, his arms came down because he couldn't hold up his own arms any longer. And he looked like the Mummy. And Ali had called him the Mummy for weeks, and nobody knew what he was talking about. And Ali turned him around in the famous ropa dope and then was victorious in that fight. But the Mummy moniker by Ali was the greatest one of all time, because once the arms came down, they were too heavy for Foreman to lift. He punched himself out, Eric, is what happened.
Sure.
I think Ali's ribs were severely damaged in that fight because he had trained with weights on his sides for months to absorb the blows that he was willing to take from Foreman to get this Mummy thing. It was just one of the most brilliant strategy fights of all time, the rope-a-dope fight that you just mentioned.
Yeah, except look what it ultimately did to Ali, and I think his Parkinson's was due to all the damage.
Well, that was the head. That was to the head. This was to the ribs and the sides. That because he covered up like this for 7 or 8 rounds, and that was the rope-a-dope. He just was on the ropes for 7 or 8 rounds. I could be wrong about the.
This is a side note. Speaking of George Foreman, I just did a second interview with Trisha Morrison. I don't know if you remember Tommy Morrison. He was in Rocky V.
Yeah.
Tommy the Duke Morrison was her husband. And I did an interview with her before, and this is a follow-up on it. Tommy Morrison, it was claimed, came up positive for an HIV test in 1996 and was run out of boxing. And he ultimately died in 2013 of staph toxic shock. Yeah, you know, from a brown recluse spider bite, most likely, that got infected with gauze that was left inside of him.
Whoa. Okay.
But they said he died of AIDS. So the point of this, and if anybody wants to watch it, I really do encourage it. She took his case all the way to Supreme Court twice on her own with no lawyer. She represented herself and has been fighting to clean up his legacy now for literally a decade. And they're making a documentary on it right now. I think some of my stuff is in it. And I'll put a link actually later for that if people are interested in that history, because it's really a kind of an important case, I think. Sarah Mee, do you think they let Assange go so the emails were fresh on our mind to keep Hill out? Yeah, by the way, that's some interesting things about Julian Assange. And I know we had one story coming on that of his plane flight, but there's another story. The 20,000 emails are gone.
Oh, wow.
Remember all the emails he had online? He got out, made the deal. All the emails are no longer online. Now, I'm hoping people downloaded them, but
somebody must have them.
Probably. Well, they're saying he gave them all to Greenwald as well. So let's see if Greenwald.
What about Seth Rich's family? What about, do they?
Don't know. I don't know anything beyond that. I thought that was a very interesting development, as well as this.
You gotta have hard copy, friends. I'm trying to tell you.
He dropped $500,000 on a flight to avoid being on the mainland. Now,
that was insane. I didn't understand the numbers of.
Why? My big thing is, why would you pay? I get it that you want to be there, but supposedly he wanted to be the farthest possible from the United States, humanly possible, and close as he could to Australia. But I looked it up, and Guam is a few hundred miles away from where he was. And I bet you flights going into Guam are more consistent than Northern Mariana Islands, where he had to get that flight in there. So it's like, why?
I don't know, but the island of Saipan, which is where he landed, is of great American history, because Saipan, it was owned by the Germans. It went to Spain. It went back. We bought it, sold it, whatever the hell we did with it. But it's the island of the Japanese suicides, and the cliffs of Saipan is where the Japanese civilians plummeted to their deaths out of fear of being taken as prisoners by the American Army and Marines in this particular case. And then the Japanese soldiers jumped to their deaths. And I think there was a message here from Assange. It's a very, very dark space on that island, which was fought for by the U.S. To put in a B-29 landing strip for the super fortress to eventually bomb Tokyo. That it starts in Saipan, and that's where he flew to. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but
he chose it.
No, I know, but I'm just giving you the background on Saipan.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Saipan is a weird place that we now control because of World War II, and but I'm just giving you. It's where the Japanese committed mass suicide.
Yeah, the harikari, something. It's another word. Anyway.
It's where the Japanese, like lemmings, like National Lampoon lemmings, ran off the cliffs.
All right.
And and there were people who were traumatized, U.S. soldiers who watched this. There is footage. You could find footage of it on YouTube, just so YouTube knows this. It's in house. There is footage of the.
On the living. Okay, great.
Yeah. But anyway, I think Assange might have been have something to do with it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Plus, I don't trust the U.S. or Australia to fulfill their part of the deal, by the way, which has not been fulfilled yet.
Well, he's home, I think.
I know. So what? So what? He's home.
Yeah.
So what?
I don't know. All right. Sanch, is it Sancha? Drobina, love your work. Do you think the greatest risk for Donald J. Trump winning is the illegals being strategically placed to vote dim in key states? Love from Tassie.
Well, everybody, thank you guys. And
Tasmania.
Yeah, that's true. They've been fans of ours since the beginning. The situation is that everybody who applies for any benefits gets enrolled into the voting pool by checking a box. And it doesn't say party affiliation on there, but you can later choose party affiliation depending on your state. So anyone who gets here and begins to get benefits, they're going to be confronted in the documents about registering to vote in every single document. So they're going to get a EBT card. They're going to get a phone. They're going to get rent paid. And then they're going to get a ballot in the mail, depending on where you live. And why they would stop there without just simply voting and mailing it in would be unusual, in my opinion. I don't think they're going to physically go to vote. I think they will mail in ballots. It's just too easy.
Okay. This one I don't know what they're talking about. Please comment on the new Times Mag cover. Do you mean Time Magazine?
Yeah.
What's the new cover?
I don't know, but that's what he's referring to.
I assume that, but I was like, okay. I don't know what the new cover is. I'd have to look it up. Thank you, Doug Archbold. We got some Australia in the house.
Mm-hmm.
BTK, CBS fact checks. Let me see. Oh yeah, CBS fact check. Biden's speech is weak. Trump lied. Yeah, that's the new routine.
What is that?
Everybody's doing that. They're saying Biden was terrible. He's weak, etc. He just let Trump lie. And that's their counter. Is that supposedly Trump lied? Never mind the Biden lies, which are pretty well documented. Like nobody dying.
There's the cover, by the way.
Oh, okay. Panic. All right. Good cover. That's actually a nice artistic look about.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting. Yeah, that is interesting. But I mean, if you're a Trump supporter, does panic mean anything to you? In other words, why panic? Why not celebrate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
why
actually
not hip hip hooray?
Well, I'm panicking about their panic to a degree because I absolutely want Biden to stay in because I think he's beatable, and Trump will repeat Grover Cleveland.
But they're going to repeat the same thing they did now out of desperation,
right?
Which is going into Philadelphia in the middle
margin of fraud. Margin of
Right.
fraud.
It's going to be a repeat because they have no choice.
I
So
understand,
they're going to have to do it.
but you can't. When the margin's a landslide, it's very difficult to make up those numbers.
Well,
I mean,
the
they've got to
margins
be at
don't
least
appear
close
to,
enough.
they all seem to be 2 or 3, 4 or 5% within the margin of error. These battleground states. I don't see landslide numbers anywhere, Eric.
No, we'll see how it goes. But I mean, we also haven't had the hits after the debate because typically, you have the debate and then give them 3, 4, have a rolling poll average, and let's see what happens. I mean, even Frank Luntz said, afterwards, and he's unreliable as hell.
Yeah,
busy with Kevin McCarthy, but he's kind of pro Biden in a lot of his bit.
Yeah.
He was saying that
Yeah.
he did polls on undecided voters and they flipped completely. He said he's never seen that margin of people flipping. CNN's own audience, 67% for Trump. And they hate Trump. So I mean, it's like, things.
Well, it's the only way he's going to win, I think, is a landslide. And
it's got to be a landslide. Yeah.
No, I agree. I'm saying because right now, the race is way too close to call. It should be, and it's frustrating. He should be 20 to 30 points ahead, and he's not. Again, this is before the debate, so I don't know what's going to happen afterwards.
Right.
I mean, if you can't vote for this guy to get out of office with the situation that we're in right now, we have a bigger problem than we can even imagine.
Yeah. I mean, Carl Burkhalter, the regime is terrified of Trump retribution. They will get increasingly desperate if they think Trump is angry. He is luring them.
He's not a retribution kind of guy. It's kind of the frustration. Again, this is the whole external Trump character is something I explained that it's kind of like Andrew Dice Clay. It's a put on, it's an act. He got it from the World Wrestling Federation when he was in there working with that, and he created it and used it for the presidential thing. He's not that guy in person.
It's a heel, I think, is what they call it.
Right? Yeah. But I'm saying it's similar to Andrew Silverstein. When you talk to Andrew Silverstein, he was not Andrew Dice Clay, and when he became Andrew Dice Clay on the stage, it was a persona. A lot of people believed Nora Dunn from Saturday Night Live believed that was him. It wasn't true. I knew Andrew Silverstein as Andrew Silverstein, and I've talked to Trump privately. He's not that guy. The bellicose thing is an act. It's an act. And he's not a guy who digs retribution because he always wants the art of the deal to leave the door open a creak so it can come back in. So he can come back in, whether you're the dictator of North Korea or the head of China. He does not want to drive a stake through anybody's heart because it's in his nature to make a deal with the devil if he has to. And retribution is really not his thing. They're fear mongering this retribution. It's another attempt to fear monger. And that's not the way this cat rolls.
Well, it's also confession.
Sadly, I wish he did roll that. What's that?
It's confession through projection, though, because they do retribution. So,
that's why I said he was talking about a president. Biden says, I never heard a president talk about retribution. He should have listed the names of people who've been imprisoned by this administration, by this regime, for Christ's sakes. I mean, Peter Navarro was probably watching that debate last night in a federal prison in Miami, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah, well, I mean, what I'm saying too, though, is that the projection is like if you view the world through this lens, that this is how people operate because that's what you think, then that's what you expect.
Right. Good point. Yeah, I also think he wasn't strong enough on the January 6th prisoners. I mean, he should have said, "I'm going to pardon him day one. Go fuck yourself. Do something about it. Be bold about this. Stop dancing around this issue." He started to defend himself. He kept defending himself. I said go peaceful. I said do this. I tried to do that. Forget about it. Embrace it. They're not going to help you, bro. Embrace it. And it was frustrating. There were parts of it that were frustrating. That's all.
I understand. Allegan News, if he was too sharp, Biden would get sympathy. I agree. That's kind of my sense.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
The debate was for the normies, not the base. That's true. The debate, and Trump, I want to push back a little bit on that because I think he's right too. You keep hearing about what a bully and bad guy Trump was. He was not a bully or a bad guy last night at all. So a lot of people have been.
He should have been.
Well, for his base.
That's to get him back on his heels. That's what I'm trying to say. These are calling him Hitler makes him softer. because you don't want to act like Hitler. I say you got to go against it and begin to act like a tough guy. They're not going to, they're doing that to put you back defensively. It's a tool. That's what he's going to have retribution against all of us. I'm going to have to flee the country. What does Trump have to come out and say? I'm not going to have retribution against anybody. Bullshit. Go after them. Go after them. People want blood, Hunley.
My mind, this is not a show. I mean, we're not an improv troupe. We're two people discussing. We don't agree necessarily.
Forget about this mutt. Get off the screen, mutt face.
People
go to improv school. I did go to improv school, actually, right, with Michael Kaufman, Andy Kaufman's brother.
Right, and this was improv. Yes, it would be yes and, but we're not improving. A different video. Okay, whatever. I agree with Mo Bishop. Jill Biden should be charged with elder abuses. Yes. Absolutely.
All right, let's pick her up. Let's go. Let's indict her. Let's go. Like Hunley's idea, lure her to a state for an honorarium to give her an award, and then arrest her for elder abuse. Let her post bail. Let her get out. You've got to turn this around, people. And I don't mean the people in the audience. I mean the people in the House, the people in the Senate, people in the party, the GOP. You have to begin to go on offense at some point in your stinking lives. Get off the golf course and do something out of the box already. I mean, it's incredibly frustrating. Well, we can't do that because of this. And we wrote a letter to a guy who's really going to write a letter to another guy. So
no, Mark, a strongly
worded letter.
Okay, I understand that. Hey, we don't just write letters here.
I watched that Boeing guy squirm in that seat, and it was worth the price of admission to see the head of Boeing sit in that seat under the hot lights of Congress last week with the victims of their engineering debacle sitting in back of them with blood on his hands. That's what needs to start to happen. And then they have to be indicted after they're brought into Congress. I mean,
or Zuckerberg. I think they did with Zuckerberg too, when they said, "Are you going to turn around and apologize?"
Right. They did it to the Boeing guy too, and the dead people's families were sitting in back of him. It does have power, people.
All right, Nate the lawyer. Biden will win. Sign Hunter.
You know, he did mention, of course, the tit for tat, that you're a convicted felon. Then he said, "So is your son." You know, and he could have gone further on the laptop from hell about the Hunter Biden laptop and simply called out Dana Bash and her husband, Jeremy Bash, who was one of the 51 signatories as a former CIA agent. I mean, the fact that your host of your debate's husband signed a letter that the laptop was Russian propaganda is outrageous. It's just outrageous. And the other guy, Jake Tapper, of course, you know, a famous Democratic operative, this should have been stated by Trump right out of the gate. Spies who lie. Yeah, this is among the 51. The point of the matter is Dana Bash's husband was one of the 51, for Christ's sakes. The host of the debate. The host of the debate.
But apparently they were CIA contractors when they did it. So they were working directly at the time. That's why I was like, I pulled this. I didn't know if you had seen that, but that's so it goes even further. That
they were actually working when they signed the letter.
They were actually working for them as contractors.
Let's pick them up. Let's go.
So it very, very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway, video maven. Use of CPAP machine caused problems with face and dry horse throat.
Could be. That's a good one. That's a good one. But I would have come up with some cock and bull story. I mean, you can't let the guy walk out there with no explanation. The entire nation gasped.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's definitely.
You know, you could have lowered the bar and simply said, you know, Biden is getting over a very bad chest cold, but he said, "I'm not going to miss this for the world. I can't let Trump get away with this. I'm going to do the best I can today." And then people would have had a little bit of a better mindset. And to have him walk out and think that he was in another country.
True. Let me see. Basil Beshkov. Biden was reading notes. Trump wasn't and should have called him out.
I agree. I thought the same thing. I don't know what the hell he had down there because you supposedly weren't allowed to have notes. I don't think he had an earpiece, but he did have notes. And seemed to be referring to them. Whether he smuggled them in his anus, I don't know.
Maybe that's what happened in the pants.
I don't know what was going on in the pants, but they did take a break, and there was a wristwatch apparently given to him by his father, who fought in Vietnam, and that wristwatch appeared out of nowhere in the second half of the debate. There were things.
Oh, this is a valid point. When you were talking about the criminal, remember he was under that damn gag order. There was a partial stay on the gag order, but not all of the gag order. So Trump was boxed in a little bit on what he could or couldn't say, in terms of his criminal situation.
Yeah.
So I didn't even think.
He's got multiple cases. I don't know.
Right, but the current one he is just convicted of. Dustin said, best line of the episode. They don't have guns down there. Boo hoo. Guess they fucked up. LOL.
Who said that?
You did earlier.
Oh, I did.
About Australia. Remember you said about Australia?
No, I know. I just remembered. Who said? I said that's pretty funny. Who said that? I had a feeling it was me, but I wasn't sure. They fucked up. That is kind of funny. They had one mass shooting. We have mass shootings on the way to the grocery store. They had one mass shooting. Everybody loses their Second Amendment gun rights, whatever their right to have guns, because somebody had a mass shooting. I mean, we have thousands of mass shootings.
Well, I don't think they had a bill of rights. A lot of places
they must have had something that allowed them to have guns.
Yeah, I mean, well, until they're actually, I don't.
It might have been some weak ass thing that they revoked. You know what I mean? Like in Canada, you can have a shotgun for hunting, right?
Well, Canada gun laws are very, very confusing. I'd have to go to Ian Runkle. I don't know. I know that
right, but I'm saying it's part of Australia is kind of part of the
Commonwealth country.
The Commonwealth, it might be similar to Canada.
It could be. And it could be also that guns were not encouraged or illegal. They were just something people had, and then they made them illegal. They don't. Whereas the U.S. has a First Amendment. Nobody really has a First Amendment like we do.
No, I know.
Right. And the Second Amendment.
Did you see that guy in Canada? He ran for, as a uniter, he ran for parliament, and he got 0 votes. You see that guy? I sent it to Viva this morning. It was a guy, the only guy in the history of Canada ran in a federal election who got 0 votes. And I mean 0. And
he didn't vote for himself?
Apparently not. He got 0.
You can't even do that.
I guess he assumed.
Get the memo. You can vote for yourself.
Maybe you can't do that there, Eric. We don't know that.
Well, your mom?
His mom disowned him. His mom said he was a shallow politician.
It's an achievement in a way.
I'm waiting to see what Viva said, because he was a guy from Montreal, young guy. He said, I'm a uniter. I want to bring the country together. And they said
they all agreed they didn't want him.
Yeah, they agreed, and no man has ever gotten 0 votes in a federal election in Canada.
I love
no man.
Or woman.
And
Room mentioned this earlier. I saw it go by, but it's kind of like James Gandolfini. Recently saw a video cam clip from a restaurant he was on at the day of his death. It was over the top that day in terms of food and alcohol ingestion. Yeah, that's starting to float around. I think he had like 20, an incredible amount of alcohol or something.
This was going on for years with Gandolfini at Russian card parties here in Hollywood. The Russians will rent a apartment and then bring in some big fish, giving you free Coke and free alcohol and free everything. And he was a regular there. I had friends who saw him there, and he was abusing drugs and alcohol for the last 7 or 8, 9 years. It was going on and on. He was a walking heart attack. These people die and everybody's like shocked, but people here see people doing things and they just say, you could tell that this guy was going to go, Gandolfini. And indeed he did. He did it to himself.
Well, we only see the representation of them on the screen.
Right, which is them at their best, which is them cleaned up, which is them, reading a script that's written by other people. There was some survey years ago, it was like 15 years ago, like something like 60% or 70% of the American people believe that actors made up the lines they were saying in movies and TV shows. It was some astronomical number that people believed that these words coming out of their mouths were their own. As a screenwriter, it was kind of shocking. I just remember that.
You know what? I think that's one of those things where people kind of feel like it's
Right,
true,
right.
but they know it's not. Like if you ask them
Right.
directly, they'll be like, no, that's not true. But that's why you have celebrity spokespeople.
Mhm.
Especially if you have somebody who played a doctor on TV.
Well, De
And
Niro
having
should
an
get a
adult
celebrity
spokesperson.
spokesperson. De Niro should have a spokesperson.
Yeah, he should.
This guy has no spokesperson. He's unfiltered. Imagine watching that debate with him last night. That would have been worth the price of admission. Like, oh, fuck. Holy shit. Can you believe this? Oh, my God. Oh, look at this mutt. What the hell? That would be great.
Actually, another name. I would have loved to watch the debate with Michael Rappaport.
Oh, that would have been good. That would have been
Oh
good.
my God. If that's an unfiltered mofo, if I've ever seen one, he's just like, God, and I get to see him. Pig dick Donald Trump is getting you up the eyes. You I can just imagine. Oh my God. Jared Harvey, love the show. It's got me through a lot. Felony, probation, a failed marriage, and 6 years sober.
What the hell
Keep it
happened,
going.
Jared? What is going on with you?
No
Harvey, let's
kidding.
go. Way to go, bro.
Wow.
It's always darkest before the dawn. Remember that.
Yes.
Harvey.
Thank you, man. Thank you very much.
No big deal.
Whew. Helena, does anyone remember Reagan and how he was picked on? And is it then is seriously gone? I don't know.
Reagan and how he was picked on.
I mean, I remember when Reagan was hated. I mean, because I was taught to hate Reagan, and we were going to be in a world war. And then they remember they made The Day After, that mini series, which
was pretty good.
That was but it was treated like that was a factual thing.
Oh, did anybody see The Final Days? That movie I recommended last week, the Nixon movie.
Well, I uploaded it on Locals.
Okay, I'm just curious if anybody saw it.
I think some people did, and some. I think Otto said he saw it in '89 when it came out.
Okay. I had never heard. It was based on the book, the Woodward book. So take it with a grain of salt.
Doc 5758. The Dems never debate policy with Trump. Their initial response is Trump is a liar, felon, because they can't defend their horrible policies.
That's definitely true. That's definitely true. But the irony is nobody lies more than Joe Biden. And if he had pointed out the plagiarism and pointed out his bullshit stories, it would have taken the heat off of him and flipped the script onto this a pathological liar, Joe Biden, who is a pathological liar.
Yeah, yes.
How's your uncle feel being eaten by cannibals, Joe?
Have you talked to New Guinea?
How does it feel driving 18-wheeler, bro? Tell me about it.
You were first.
Well, there was no crosstalk, but he was able to, when you got your mic live, you could say whatever you want to the other guy, which is kind of nice. He can't even respond.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Alex Davy Duke. Mark is right.
About what? About what?
Occasionally.
What's a CA mean? California money?
Canada.
Oh, Canada. Okay.
It's commie money.
Commie money.
Well, California would be commie money too. So
yeah.
Just me. Only way. Oh, that was funny. It was Joe was claiming
crazy.
His 6 handicap. The only way he had a 6 handicap is if Hunter was keeping scorecards, just like he taxes it, proves people on crack can't do math. Now that one Trump did jump all over.
That was a good golf moment. Yeah.
And I know nothing about golf, but Trump, you could just tell he was like, "There's no epic."
Right.
And it wasn't even a posturing. It was like 2 guys at a bar, like no.
You can't carry my bag or something.
That was funny. Thank you, Great Ghost. Oh my God, that was freaking. That was a fascinating moment.
Well, do you have any articles that we were kicking around this week?
Yeah, I've got more. I've got one more rant. I'm just going to say.
I'm sorry.
Flat Finboy Slick. Imagine if that had been Trump's answer to retribution. I'm going after your wife for elder abuse.
That's a great. There's a million, and I'd love to write jokes for Trump. Mort Saul told me he got to write jokes for Kennedy when he was campaigning for president.
Ooh.
And he loved writing the jokes. And then you'd hear Kennedy say these jokes on the stump. I would love to do that for him. At one point, I was approached by, what's his name, from Missouri, the blonde-haired senator who ran for president in the 80s.
That part.
Yes, Richard Gephardt.
Richard
Lewis said Richard Lewis was asked to write jokes for Gephardt, and he said he couldn't do it. And he called me up and he said, I told him you could do it. I said, all right. So he says, go over to this party and talk to Gephardt. He's looking for a joke writer for the campaign. So I go over and it's $1,500 to get in. It was a fundraising scam. Had nothing to do with me trying to talk to him about it. They wanted $1,500 from me for a fundraiser. And
nice.
I said, Richard, go F yourself. Next time, pay the $1,500 if you want me to.
Did he start laughing at you?
Yeah. It was one of these stupid Richard Lewis things. Like when he sent me to meet Bill Maher and do that. It's always Richard Lewis who sent me on these stupid adventures. But
that's a pretty good break, though, Mark.
No, it was pretty. It was pretty good. It was pretty good. And so anyway, so Mort Saul famously wrote for JFK. And when he became president, his father said to Mort Saul, I expect you to stay on and write jokes, for my son now that he's in the White House. And Mort Saul says, you got to be dreaming. He says, what do you mean? He goes, now I am the loyal opposition, sir. And he said, well, I will destroy you then. And Joseph Kennedy proceeded to attempt to destroy Mort Saul's career because he didn't turn on Kennedy. He just said, I can't be employed by a guy writing jokes for the president. He said, I'm a political satirist, unlike Bill Maher, and he wrote jokes against both sides, and he stayed that way his whole life. Famously hooking up with General Haig, by the way. They became close friends.
By the way, we did an episode on Mort Saul, if you guys want to check it out. And there's a channel called Loyal Opposition with all kinds of Mort Saul clips.
I mean,
want to see that.
It's a great job. I mean, when the guy's on the stump, I mean, there's presidents who've had, Obama clearly had joke writers. I forget, it was guys from Comedy Central and a bunch of different people. As president, you can do it if that's your desire. But man, I would love to write jokes for Trump on the stump. That would be a thrill a minute.
Trump is good enough. I think comes up with his own material too.
So what? It doesn't matter. Everybody's got writers. Yeah.
No,
you don't have to use it. You don't have to use it. I mean, you just put it out there and you got it on your teleprompter if you want to go there.
Oh, for sure. I mean, but interesting. Okay. Here's a story while we're talking about writing jokes, etc. I told you about this and it's starting to get more and more and more. Adam Carolla, remember you sent me an article about his house being sold, and I said that he was going to show up at his kid's graduation with a U-Haul.
Yeah.
His kids graduated, I believe, and U-Haul's there, place is up for sale. And
he's out. He's out.
Now, I will also say,
I think he's out this summer, coming up.
He has to be. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure the kid just graduated. One of the best interviews Adam Carolla has ever done is with Gavin Newsom from several years ago, and he slaughtered him. He slaughtered him on every question. I will have to try to find it and put it up on Locals, because it was when Gavin was lieutenant governor, and Gavin was just trying to lie left and right, and Carolla just pinned him down. It was one of those beautiful moments when you're like, oh my God, he's actually pinning the guy down, and Gavin Newsom is actually hanging out and tolerating it. Let's just say Gavin didn't come back, but it really
Gavin Newsom is a 40-year-old Joe Biden. When Joe Biden, he's just like Joe Biden was at 40. Just a guy who is able to riff and string together lie after lie after lie. It's an amazing technique. It's not just one lie. It's a lie of not storytelling, but it's a lie that goes straight through on policy, on awards, there's that famous footage now where Biden talks about his law school career and his college career and all that stuff in one stream of consciousness. That's an amazingly bizarre talent. That's really weird talent. And what's his name's got it in spades, Newsom.
Newsom's better.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Maybe the old Joe Biden was good. I don't know. I didn't see him. He was the youngest senator ever, right, Eric?
That's true. I just feel like Newsom's more polished even than that, with more decades of experience and people before him to teach you. But Newsom and Biden both, it's almost sociopathic because I have a feeling you could hook them up to a polygraph and they'd both pass.
Right.
And that's not even with any tricks about puckering or whatever. They just spit it out and they just say whatever the F.
Well, you have
they
to
want.
believe it. I think maybe you have to believe it to defeat the box. So maybe that's part of it.
Or you just don't care. I mean, like
Yeah.
if it's just words coming out of your mouth, if you're telling the truth and you're telling a lie and whatever one moves the needle, you don't give a shit, then what what is that?
I can only say with the departure of Newsom, what a great opportunity this would be for RFK Jr. to try out all his ideas on a enormous populace in a state that he lives in, and is a democratic state that he can not be the opposition. He doesn't even have to run as a Republican, which is the beauty of it. He can run as an independent, or he could run as a Democrat in the state of California, and he would be uncontested. Again, if this vacuum is not filled, it will be filled by someone like Kamala Harris, who is sticking her toe in the water if Biden loses. She's looking at running for governor of California. And I think if RFK would simply get his head out of his ass and forget about this Don Quixote quest for the presidency and begin to think real politic and say this thing is going nowhere, or I tried, or whatever it is, it's two men, I got in late, blah, 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 I'm going to run again. But right now, I'm putting all my efforts into running for the governorship of the great state of California. I think people would embrace him on both sides of the aisle. Just my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, but in California, yes, because he's closer to Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, once was related.
Yeah, one's a Kennedy, the other's a Kennedy.
So, all right. Speaking of, this isn't just California, but I'm sure it's a big factor.
This is great. This is just great. You talk about buyer's remorse, Eric.
Mm-hmm. Well, of course. I mean, look, I appreciate some aspects of it, but I drive a hybrid.
Mm-hmm.
That's as far as I'm going to go, because I feel like it gives options. It uses less fuel. I can drive farther with the same vehicle, but I'm not tethered to plugging my damn car in. I am not dependent on an electrical grid. I'm not dependent on, let me plan my trip out because I've got to stop at specific locations.
Crazy.
It's insane. There's no real infrastructure for this kind of thing. And then you go somewhere like California where the grid can't even handle it.
Well, the industry expert who's in the article thought that there would be some buyer's remorse, like 5 to 10%. But when it was 48% of the people polled who said they would next time buy a gas car, he says he was stunned. He was completely stunned. The industry expert who they asked about the electric car and buyer's remorse over getting it, he thought there would be some. But it was nearly 50%. Enormous numbers of people who feel they made a mistake in buying an electric car.
Yeah, and unless there was infrastructure everywhere, what is it? Your guy, actually built the charging stations.
Pete Buttigieg?
Yeah. What are they up to? A handful out of the thousands that they were supposedly going to get?
I think it's like their solar panel pipe dream. These mutts are done. Don't understand. Their days are numbered. They're getting their resumes together to get the hell out of there now after last night. People are polishing off their resumes. They've got 6 months to get their shit together and get out of D.C. You're going to start to see them looking for jobs as professors. They're going to start floating their resumes quietly, and some of them will be leaked out of the administration of people who are looking to get the hell out before the ship goes down.
Yep,
They're done.
Look for new faces on CNN.
New faces on CNN. I think a lot of those are going to go. And as I said earlier, and I'll say it again, all 3 late night hosts will be replaced by younger, less famous, less political TV hosts on the late night shows.
It'll be interesting if we might see YouTubers going over or some.
It's going to be 3. It's going to be 3 weird people. They'll fight over it as to who's going to get it. It's going to be 3 weird, different people. Whatever they are, it's not going to be these 3 guys. And,
oh God, no! But why not just get somebody talented, like Craig Ferguson? I thought that he was a pretty damn talented nobody for us. I mean, he's somebody imported, just a really, really talented guy that built his own audience with his own style.
Well, I mean, I know Craig Ferguson, and he was backed by Worldwide Pants. That's why he was able to do it, and that was David Letterman's company. So he had the luxury of having a big fan in David Letterman, who endorsed him and put him on literally put him on TV. Not that Ferguson didn't deserve it. He also had his own punk rock band in Scotland and England before he even got into acting, and just a long, interesting career for Ferguson. I had a couple of Scottish friends who wrote for him. They also wrote for Russell Brand, the same Scottish people who wrote for Ferguson when Russell Brand had his TV show. But yeah, I mean, Ferguson had a great show, and they're going to try to find some apolitical people. Let me just put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, I miss Jay Leno. I know that's not hip to say, but I like Jay Leno.
Yeah.
I don't mind the.
Nobody doesn't like Jay Leno. I mean, come on, one of the most likable people in show business.
I definitely think so. All right. Well, we're talking about Gascon, your area. Gascon's.
Oh yeah, this woman, dude, his staff is like a lightning rod doing evil. They're obsessed with any old cop that did something wrong years ago. In other words, these are not contemporary things. So she went into the files 1,000 times trying to get dirt on cops who are no longer on the force so they could prosecute them years after they've been gone, if that makes any sense to anybody. And they warned her that you can't keep going into these files. These are protected files, let me put it that way. And she just said, fuck it, I'm just going to keep. So now she's been indicted on 11 felony counts.
Good. Lock her up. I mean, a lot of these people who are abusing the power like that. Oh, yeah. Speaking of which, the judge I was talking about last week has been removed from the bench officially.
Oh, the topless
Christina Peterson.
Yeah, the topless one? Or is
she wasn't really topless. That was a weird thing. I asked about why Law and Crime blurred her dress. Because there was cleavage, and YouTube is sensitive about cleavage. But my thought is when you blur it like that, you're implying that she had a breast hanging out or she was nude, and that's equally as bad or worse.
I was hiking not yesterday, before I went camping. I was hiking where I usually go, and there was a nanny with a little girl in a stroller, and then a little girl was like 5 walking with her. And around the corner came a girl who was not a hooker or anything, just probably an actress, in a bra and panties and high heels, talking on the phone as she's strolling outside. And I did like a quadruple take, but the little girl looked at me and I said, "You got me," the 5-year-old. And it was such a reaction from the girl who was 5, who knew this was wrong. It was kind of shocking. She was just out for a stroll in her bra and panties, wearing high heels, and yakking it up on the cell phone.
Not even a bikini?
Nope. Sorry.
Well, you're in California.
Yeah. It depends where your cleavage is what I'm trying to say.
Well, I know New York has free the nipple.
Yeah. I mean, it depends.
There's like somebody who went around and that's her shtick. Like she's literally just going, "Oh, look at here."
It'd be a great campaign where you just cut up for where Joe Biden says that anywhere, "It depends." And then it's, "Hi, I'm Joe Biden for Depends." And he just keeps saying, "It depends, it depends, it depends." And it's just him saying it depends. What do you think about the economic thing of Australia? It depends. It's just have him as the sponsor for Depends.
National Lampoon
SNL, if they had any humor.
They're getting occasionally a little better. There was this Washington thing that they did I thought was fascinating and pretty fun. I put it on Locals about the weights and measures.
Okay.
I have to find it, but it was pretty good. It was clever and interesting.
Wow.
Which is rare. Big Bill 767. In my opinion, Trump is trying to stay measured and stress the facts, not the wild man that some would say from the past. I think that would help him with the women's vote. He already has the base.
Whatever, Big Bill. I mean, there's all these different explanations. I've heard them for years. And people want Trump to free the Trump and do it. They're never going to convince. He's never going to convince the New York Times to love him. He's never going to get single white housewives from Great Neck to vote for him. There are just things that are never going to happen, and he should focus on enforcing his base and making them happy.
All right. Oh, that's funny. Natalie McClendon, who we
Natalie, what's up?
Yeah, she had a couple events. We just saw her in West Palm. Is my milestone badge a rainbow for Pride Month? That's funny.
You know what? There's rainbow family gatherings that go on in California with 5,000 to 10,000 people that show up at these things. And now the national parks are going after them to stop them from having these gatherings. So in an attempt to stop them, the Biden administration first had Native American tribes write them letters begging them not to gather on their sacred land. And they said, who gives a shit? We're doing acid on your land. And this battle is going on in California about the rainbow people and their rainbow family gatherings right now, which can get to be 5,000 to 10,000 people shitting and eating and vomiting on somebody's land.
Oh, lovely. Rumble rant here from Kitty724. Hi, guys. Opinion on Flynn's prediction. Kamala out, Hillary slipped to VP, Biden out, Hillary pres-elect.
Never going to happen. It's just a pipe dream of some guy, thinking too much about it. Never going to happen.
Yeah. And
I mean, I love Flynn, but that's just some hypothetical college kid stuff.
Greg Ghost, Biden has a lot in common with season 6 Uncle Junior.
Of what show?
Oh, Sopranos. I bet you it's a Sopranos. Because Gandolfini. I just
right. That's funny. That's funny. That's a good one.
Salty Vet Dad. I don't know what he said on that last line, and I don't think he did either. Yes,
no, that was a good line. Come on, that was a good one. That was a good one. With
perfect delivery too.
That was good. But I think there was opportunity. But maybe it's just me as a comedy writer. I saw a gap where you could insert a joke in my mind, and it was like, I was just frustrated.
You're a political animal too, and you want to kill. So that's
there's political animal. It's also the street New York jokes, and he represents that too because he's done it so many times. I was just like, there's such an opportunity wasted right there. He got a couple, but I mean, there was room for like 50.
True.
Maybe in episode 2 he'll catch up.
Oh, in September.
The second debate, maybe, yeah.
Electric Beaver. I finally saw LBJ. Rob Reiner is a huge LBJ fanboy. Haha, LBJ, the civil rights hero.
Yeah, I mean, the best thing about that movie was Woody Harrelson. In anything, Woody Harrelson is great, and he's great as LBJ. I mean, it's a terrible script, and it's a fat hack director named Rob Reiner who told us he was going to solve the Kennedy assassination. If we listened to his 52 episodes with what's her name from CNN, we would name Soledad O'Brien, who's half Puerto Rican, half Irish. I know there's a joke there somewhere. But of course there was nothing.
Says the Irish Jew.
No, there are ethnic jokes for every combination. I mean,
yeah,
whatever your thing is. But nevertheless, at the end of the day, it was a lot of malarkey, to quote Joe Biden.
All right. Face Museum. Did you guys get my email from Face Museum regarding Kennedy info?
What?
Seda lives. If I'm watching fake news, how come I knew 4 years ago Biden has severe dementia and you just found out last night? Mic drop. I don't recall.
The Face Museum. I don't ever heard of that, but that's a good name, Face Museum. It's just people's faces.
Yeah, it's kind of
a celebrity face museum.
Like a wax museum.
Like the Death Mask Museum.
Oof, that'd be creepy. That would be creepy. Well, geez, Beavis Wallace coming in hot.
Look, Wallace, you gotta rein it in.
Fetterman was drugged by his wife.
Yeah.
And became lucid after he left her. I think Obama is making Jill drug Biden to keep him out of the way.
Beavis, if you remember, Fetterman Fetterman famously had the worst debate performance by any United States senatorial candidate against Dr. Oz. And yet he was victorious. I mean, that's what the spin is today out of the Biden camp. Bad night, he could still win, and bad performance. And next time it'll be better.
Yeah, we had a brain patient.
And a guy with a thing. Yeah, I mean,
we're Democrats.
He met with Netanyahu the other day. Please, somebody explain this to me. And he's wearing a hoodie and he's wearing the shorts. What is the deal with this thing? What is the deal? Does anybody know the deal as to, is it he's too big to get clothing, or what? What is it? I could see on Fridays dressing down or whatever, but why is this? What is the statement? Has he ever made a statement as to why he wears that stuff? I'm curious.
I don't know.
He's meeting world leaders dressed in a hoodie and shorts. And I'm going like, I don't get it. I don't get the joke.
But there's.
Is it a statement, Eric?
Maybe, but yeah, there's another guy who did that, who does something similar. Tim Pool, when he interviewed Trump, had his.
But this is a sitting United States senator.
I know, but I'm just saying it's kind of a weird thing to me.
He's meeting Netanyahu with a hoodie on in the hallway. I mean, Netanyahu's looking at him like, "What the fuck is going on here?"
No, I agree. They weren't exactly playing racquetball together,
right?
Yeah, I don't know.
Very strange. I'm sure he must have explained it somewhere in some interview what it means, and I haven't read it, so there's got to be an explanation. That's all I could say.
Yeah, it could be. It is a crazy thing. The beanie is glued to Tim Pool's head.
Yeah, that's one of those things that's never going to be removed. Underneath there, there's no hair or something's going on underneath there. I don't know what it is. I don't begrudge the guy, but I'm curious as to why he does that.
Yeah, good question. All right, let me go with this article here.
Yeah, let's go. Let's rip through our articles real quick and see what we've got. I forgot what we have, so it's been a while.
Oh, but I mean, there's more than we'll even get to.
Oh, really? Well, let's go. Come on, chop chop.
We'll get you.
Come on, let's go, honey.
All right, this one is something that could have been brought up in the debate. Janet Yellen.
Oh yeah.
Does not get sticker shot. Just nothing. It's like
she didn't see. That was like a George H.W. Bush milk moment. She doesn't see any difference in the prices of food or anything else. This nutty. She looks like the fifth Beatles mother with that hairdo and like Ringo's mother or something. Complete psychopath, has no idea. Like Eric and I have said, these Marxists will take over any job that they're not qualified for. That shaved-headed guy who stole the women's luggage, that guy was in charge of nuclear waste. I mean, he had no background in that. These people are given jobs. As a new guy who's a communications director, flamingly gay guy who deleted all of his social media upon accepting the job. And these people have no experience. Again, the Marxist will take any job and turn it into a Marxist soapbox, whether it's running a dog pound or the school board or nuclear waste management. It doesn't matter, including Janet Yellen.
Yeah, no, totally agree. Okay, I saw this one and just pissed me off. Prince Harry set to receive the Pat Tillman Award for service. Now, Pat Tillman's story, right?
Mm-hmm.
Arizona Cardinals football player, volunteers to go fight in Iraq, gets killed.
Okay.
This award is for people who have done outstanding service. It's tied in with the Arthur Ashe Award for Courage, and you're going to give it to Harry.
Well, it's ESPN, bro. Come on, look at the source. Look at who they gave it to last year. I mean,
yeah, I'm sure they could find better candidates. But yes, I know. I'll never forget the Woman of the Year, Caitlyn Jenner.
Right. I mean, come on, it's ESPN. It's a failed sports network that nobody watches with Australian rules football half the time. Even sports fans don't watch that stupid channel.
Good.
I just want to say Dodgers Giants tonight and tomorrow. Tomorrow's on Fox, game of the week for people who are baseball aficionados. Dodgers Giants tomorrow. I'm sure they'll do a huge Willie Mays tribute on Fox as the game of the week.
I hope they do.
Yeah.
One would think. Let me see here. All right, we've got this one here. I don't know if you saw this. This is mind-blowing.
I did not.
Jerry Sandusky, who was convicted, and I can't go into the crimes, but they involve children, apparently has a medical condition where he could not perform the acts that he literally went to prison for the rest of his life for doing. And he would not let them introduce the medical evidence to the court showing he's essentially impotent because he was embarrassed. So he's willing to go to prison. No, insanity of being willing to be convicted of the worst possible crime I can imagine because you're afraid to admit that.
Mm-hmm. It's bizarre. I don't know what the deal is with this situation with him. I didn't read it, so apparently, were you saying he's impotent, or what's the deal?
Yeah,
okay,
that's it.
Well, I mean, he may do other devious things. I mean, you could be impotent and still be a freak.
I guess, but wow. I mean, I cannot imagine, wanting to hide from that. Oh my God. Okay. I just
he's sending a link. He texted me.
That came at 5:16. So to me, I didn't even say so. Okay. I missed that. Well, we'll see if we may have a surprise here momentarily. Not sure. Go ahead and reply to yours too. So he looks for it.
Well, let's run another article there so we don't waste them. This is a long show anyway, because there's so many freaking stories today.
Oh, yeah. Well, okay.
This show is going to go freaking long. I'm hunkered down here. I got some Gatorade left.
All right. Hold on. Okay. This one you sent me, you got to tell me what it's about. Strap hanger, New York, maniac, cop. Cops told her to stop vaping.
Okay. I don't know. If you just run it, I think it'll be self-explanatory.
Fair enough.
Go ahead.
I don't have ID, you f***ing dick! Don't f***ing push me back! I don't give a f***! Back away from my f***ing dick! This guy, you
It's a great job by NYPD. I look how quiet they get once they get handcuffs on them. They completely calm down. She was having a Karen meltdown moment. She was vaping on the subway platform and in the train, and they said there's no vaping, and she went berserk. They said, "Can we see some ID?" She repeatedly said, "The only New Yorker doesn't have ID." That she didn't have ID, and tried to go full Karen on them, and they took her away. I just thought it was a great Karen tantrum combined with two calm New York City cops of color, and then the handcuffs, and it's a cute little 3-part story there.
Wow.
Yeah. It was just great.
Well, she was in shock, though. It's obvious that her routine has worked for her before, and I guess
she was stamping her feet.
Thing.
She was stamping her feet, which I loved. And the guy said, "Can we see some ID?" I don't give a fuck ID, you pussy.
Wow. Amazing. All right. Well, this was a surprise story. Nate Silver.
Yeah. 538.
Yeah. Who Rich Barris is not a fan of.
The arch nemesis of Rich Barris is Nate Silver, the pollster from 538.
Oh, big time. They do not get on it well at all. But here we go. Famed polling expert Nate Silver makes a Trump heavy favorite to beat Biden in November. Not a toss-up. And this was the day before the debate.
Silver. I like that. Well, you got to keep as Bongino said, it's all about the ballots. Everything else is just locker room talk. I mean, it's you got to keep the expectations low for us. I mean, on this side, you just say, look, we can't be distracted by this. We have to go full crazy, nonstop, Monty, and 24/7 until November 5th. Even past November 5th, Because if he wins on November 5th or November 6th, or they drag it out, whatever the hell they're going to happen, they're going to burn this country to the ground. There are going to be riots, looting, and fires, and they're going to start putting up the boards on stores. And the last week of October, people are going to start heading for the hills, because if he wins, it's going to be on full blast. And I mean full blast November, December, January, until he takes the oath of office. You heard it here, folks.
All right.
3 months of revolution.
I know what we need to talk about.
What?
And this is a long show. You just got back, probably a little bit tired. You're worried.
I don't know, but I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. I'm well rested in the woods.
Well, this is going to help get you ready to go.
I took that into the woods with me.
There you go. And see, you took the official America's Untold Stories.
Oh yeah.
Supreme breakfast blend into the woods with you.
Took it into the woods, my friend.
All right. Well, I highly recommend everybody get a bag of this, or 2 or 4 or 20. It is fantastic coffee. I am super proud that they made this flavor specifically for us. Again, with a Mexican Chiapa beans, young, very fresh, European modern brewing technique. And then there's Indonesian Sumatra, which is a much older.
Can I just say Frank Sumatra? The reason I'm saying Frank Sumatra is because not a lot of people, I heard a discussion this morning from a couple of people talking about the comparison of Joe Biden with the very, very end of Frank Sinatra's career, where he toured Japan and Europe at the very end and was falling down, was disoriented, and his people wanted to make money and didn't want to give up the power and the spot of Frank Sinatra. And clearly, Nancy and others were urged at that time, privately and publicly, to pull him off the stage, and they refused to do it. And it was very similar to Joe Biden's situation. Now, granted, one is an entertainer, the other one's a politician, but the overlap was there. 2 guys with dementia at the very end of their careers, staying in the game despite their family. And someone else pointed out that Joe Biden's family cannot intervene because they're a highly dysfunctional family, and he's the breadwinner through corruption and whatever he does.
Yeah, but apparently his bread supply is running low, because I don't know if you saw the article on that. Like, he's getting 0 book royalties.
Yeah.
And the house is heavily mortgaged.
Well, I'll tell you something else. The House of Representatives has subpoenaed the writer of the book, and he's going to have to sit there under the hot lights while Jim Jordan grills him, along with the others in the House, about his ghostwriting technique and what happened to the secret documents and what was exposed to him, and why did he delete all of those documents and conversations and tapes that Joe Biden gave him that were national security documents. They may get him because he's low-hanging fruit and he's nobody. They may go after this poor schnook of a ghostwriter who really didn't do anything simply because he's low-hanging fruit. I fear for the guy.
Oh, fair enough. But to finish up, coffee, americasuntoldstories.com/coffee. There's a link in the description. I'm going to tease something that I dropped in the mail for you today, Mark.
What?
And you'll be receiving it. But these will be going on sale.
What is that?
Very soon. This is the official America's Untold Stories challenge coin.
Wow.
And this is one side, Mark.
Yeah.
And this is the other side.
Oh my God! Look at how much is that? Is it heavy, Eric, or is it?
Yeah, it's
that's
how thick that.
Oh wow! Look at that! Oh my God!
This is a challenge coin. It is
a challenge you to send me that coin.
You've got it coming to you in the
party
in the mail.
Okay,
you have it probably by the end of the week.
Wow, I have something to live for.
It is. I'm really pleased with how these came out, and
so it's got some heft to it. You're saying?
Oh yeah, it weighs more than a silver dollar.
Okay.
Probably 1.5 to 2 times the silver dollar weight.
Okay.
That's very thick, substantial. Challenge coin, it's, out of military have them. The tradition is that you have to have your challenge coin with you to share your unit, like a military unit.
Right on.
And it's a conversation starter. So then somebody else in another unit, let's say, runs into in a bar, you're supposed to be able to show your challenge coin and say, yeah, I'm this. And if you don't have one, then you're supposed to buy a drink for whoever does it.
Okay, maybe
There's
we could start
long
that.
tradition there. But I think it's a fun
Well,
one.
I hope we get Watergate trading cards, because that's my goal.
I've got to get them
I
going.
had two people ask me. Greg asked me, Bedell, I did the show in the woods. I still did this radio show with a guy in the middle of the woods. But he was asking if we were going, and I said, I'll ask Eric today, meaning yesterday, if we're going to have Watergate trading cards, and he wants to order them, is why I'm bringing
Okay, we will. I've just got to come up with the design and everything.
Okay.
I don't want to do the same thing as the JFK.
Yeah.
I want it to be its own thing.
Yeah.
But I've got to figure out.
And people are asking me if Nixon was a crook. I mean, it's one of these leftist liberal monikers that stuck. But again, crook to me is a guy who stole money, and he never stole money. He may have been known for dirty tricks or whatever you want to say. But I have yet to see people talking about the Hughes loan to his brother. That doesn't connotate crook to me. A crook is, if you want to get into Agnew, that's crook kind of stuff. If you want to get into certain people who took money, like Biden, that's a crook. There's got to be a financial stealing of money in my definition of crook. And that's not what Nixon was about. He's had a lot of problems. One of them with the Jews, for sure. But as for technically being a financial crook, I have yet to see evidence of that.
Yeah.
My wife has a cloth coat, Eric. She wears a cloth coat, a good Republican coat. I have a dog, Checkers. Is that wrong? Is that wrong? It's a little dog, Eric. I couldn't give it back.
Fair enough. All right. So we got some more super chats that we're going to roll out with here. 556 Pew Pew said, hell with you, Dickerson.
Oh, man. Dickerson back on his heels now. Look what's happening to Dickerson. Holy cow. He was a big fish, and now he's nothing, Dickerson. Oh, my God. This is Howard Cosell speaking of Dickerson. Dickerson taking a bath from Pew Pew.
Al Gonzalez.
Big Al.
Could Biden step aside if he is told the 25th Amendment is in play with Democrat support? Could the price be the sanctioning of an absolute pardon for Hunter?
Okay, there's multiple parts there, Gonzalez. So the 25th would have to be his cabinet would have to invoke the 25th, as I understand it. The pardon for his son, it's going to have to come from Kamala Harris or himself in some sort of an agreement where he leaves office on the 25th of January. But I don't think he's going to take that chance. I think he's going to pardon his son either then or earlier, depending on when these trials are over. But as I predicted over a year ago on this channel, I said there was going to be, and Barnes said the same thing. So Robert said the same thing. There was going to be a double pincer move going after his son to force him out, legally going after his son. Obviously, this is in the month of June and July. Like the Trump indictments, it could have been done 7 years ago or 10 years ago or 5 years ago. These are politically motivated indictments and trials against Biden's son to squeeze Biden to get out. The debate being on June 27th, way before the convention, was also a testing of the waters to see if he could function. They've now taken a major hit over that. There probably is a split in his administration of people who want him out, and then there's the people who want to hang on to power who don't want him to leave. And this is not, and there's a split who are pro-Palestinian. I think Trump called him a terrible Palestinian last night in one of the crazier exchanges about the Middle East I've ever heard. But I think there's a split, and I think you don't need the 25th Amendment. They're trying to avoid forcing him out. They want to come to him like the elder statesman of the party and say, Joe, you got to go. And if he doesn't go, then you could do that, Al, the 25th, and do that route. They do not want to do that. That's like a last-ditch effort to force the guy out. They want to squeeze him with the kid and with these debate things to be forced to be humiliated, though. He needs humiliation. And for a narcissist, it's hard to find humiliation in their lexicon. Jill Biden is another possible link, but she's so in love with the trappings of the first lady that she may not want to.
Well, you saw the clip. I mean, when she's sitting there, she's
who
driving
does
it
that?
on.
Who does that? Why doesn't she just leave with the guy? What was that all about, Eric?
I mean,
who was she talking to there? By the way,
she was talking to him, and he didn't.
No, but who was in front of them? It
was a rally afterwards.
Okay,
I don't know, if it was a Waffle House or something.
He went to the house. He went to House of Pies in Los Feliz.
No, it was in Atlanta. I don't know which.
It could have been a Waffle House then if it was Atlanta.
Yeah, I don't know if it's Waffle House.
That's usually where a fight
IHOP
breaks out at 2:00 in the morning. Is at Waffle House in Atlanta. But Gonzalez, stay tuned. This thing is far from over. 4 to 5 months in politics is like 4 years. So it's a long way till November 5th, unfortunately.
Right. And the farther away the debate is from November, the better it is for Biden. So June is better than August.
Right. But I'm saying September 10th is still October 10th. It's still almost 2 months from November election. But I think people start voting early around September.
Right. Okay. Rumble rant from ICare22. Guys, talking about comedy, can you get Roseanne Barr on as a guest on Freeform Friday? Oh, let me call her real quick. No, I don't know. I mean, if she wanted to come on or people did that, I'm sure that, we'd be happy to have her, but she's kind of a big name. Don't necessarily just call her up. BTK, the big question is it a fedora or a pork pie hat?
This one's a fedora. It's not a pork. I don't like the pork pie. The pork pies are too small. This is a fedora.
All right. Salty but Dad. At this point, they need to say it's a huge landslide, so nobody votes.
Well, that cuts both ways. I mean, there is polling. There is legitimate polling. Nixon's landslide was expected. But again, that's why McGovern ended up being thrown into the meat grinder because there was no Ted Kennedy. And he was ground up by the Nixon machine. 49 state victory, in 1972. Massive landslide. And then Reagan's was a landslide. If it wasn't for the chicanery that they have used, this would be that type of election, Eric, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I'd hate to say it because they're up to no good. Then Mark Elias has a couple of tricks. And it's not the same plan. That's what I'm saying. I don't know what the plan is, but I would bet you they have something up their sleeve, 1 or 2 operations that they will pull before they quietly go into the night, which they're not going to do.
Fair enough. QCZ, hello, is anyone there? Standard Ouija board question. Are you good or evil? Goodbye, just in case.
That was weird. I was just talking about that the other day. Ouija boards are so weird.
Yeah. Robert Jenkins, off topic. Have you heard of the Love Canal conspiracy / disaster? Yeah. Toxic waste scandal, Niagara Falls. My Uncle Mike. Oh, your Uncle Mike.
Uncle Mike. Oh, of course. I know it was Uncle Mike. Of course. Cool. Love Canal, of course. Of course. In fact, Abby Hoffman, when he was as Barry Fried was testifying before Daniel Moynihan's committee on the rivers in New York State, but it was in Washington, and he was yelling "Love Canal" to get their attention, Abby, as Barry Fried when he was on the run from the FBI, which I think there's an episode we did about it. But he kept yelling, "You're going to have another Love Canal in the St. Lawrence Seaway," which is what leads to Abby getting caught. He turns himself in because of his taking on the Army Corps of Engineers in 1978 up by the St. Lawrence River. But Love Canal was in Buffalo, so it was upstate New York.
Okay. Woo woo. Thank you very much for the Danish.
What's DKK?
Kroner?
Danish kroner?
I think so, yeah.
There is no abbreviation of money that Humley does not know. I challenge you to send money from your land. I don't care if it's Nigeria or Timbuktu. Hunley will know the moniker.
Maybe, or I'll make it up. Robert Jenkins, Toxic Cloud is the name of this book. Michael Brown. Okay.
Michael Brown. Okay. All right. I think I've heard the name Michael Brown, actually.
That's awesome. And then Tommy says, nice Millhouse, Mark.
Tommy, I did it for you, Tommy, because it's the right thing to do. $1 million, I think I can raise $1 million. It would be wrong, but we could raise the money.
All right. Well, we are going to shift now and take this party to locals.
What?
As usual, everybody, you can become a locals member for free at unstructured.locals.com.
What kind of a business is that? What do you mean for free?
You can become a member for free.
Right.
Look around, hang out, watch the after party, listen to us chat. And if they really like us, they can support us. And they can get things like Oswald Part 3, the audio drama, and other items that we put up, documents, some PDFs that are harder to find, etc. And it allows more commenting and things like that. But it's a good place to go if anything goes wrong on YouTube or whatever.
It's like our own Facebook page too, in a way, right?
It is. It is like a Facebook group of sorts.
Yeah, it's like a Facebook
community
group of people. How many people are in this cockamamie group, honey?
I don't even know what the current number is.
I'm curious as to how many people are even for free. I mean, how many people have joined?
I can give you that.
Oh,
yeah, it's total 17,714.
Are you insane? There's 17,000 people over on Locals?
Yeah.
How do I get over there? I got to get involved in this thing. So,
well, there's a link in the description.
Right, but that's a little vague. That's hard to.
You click the link in the description, or you just type in your browser unstructured.locals.com.
How do I subscribe to the channel that we're on before we leave YouTube? Is there a way for somebody who saw the debate? If you didn't see the debate, we're not talking to you, but if you put up that remember to subscribe, does that work? Because I see these other channels, they beat you over the head with a hammer at the beginning to put up likes, and people put up likes, and I see that on other YouTube channels. Which is more
like
effective?
Russell Brand?
Let me tell you something. Russell Brand does it nonstop. Maybe he knows something we don't know.
He might. There's different opinions about that, but I feel like you should provide value before you ask for something.
You know what? I've heard that opinion too. All right, so we're at the end now. This is the time you're saying that is appropriate.
You know what? If you've been here for 2.5 hours and 3 minutes, maybe you like this.
No, you know what? I'm a hate watcher. I force myself to watch this boring piece of shit show for 2.5 hours, and I'm
all the
telling
more
you,
reason so that way you can be back to have more hate.
There's people who just watch shows because of hate, is what I'm told.
Yes.
Is that a thing, like hate watching?
Yes.
Okay.
I had a guy at my old job. I was in a room doing computer stuff, and I was with an AC mechanic in the room. Don't ask how we got in there.
Yeah.
But he would listen to Rush Limbaugh all day long. He hated him. Yes. And he would just yell at the radio all day. And I thought it was the craziest thing in the world.
Wow. That's such a weird.
He got his giggles yelling at the radio.
Well, I see some people in the comment section just, I watch the whole show. You suck. Like stuff like generic stuff like that. This is the most boring show I've ever forced myself to watch for 2.5 hours. Like,
my favorite though is I don't care. You care enough to comment.
Yeah, it takes a lot. It takes a lot.
I'm just like, but I always love it's like you don't care so much that you have to go out of your way to announce to the world, I don't care. It's kind of like the
how about the ones who are leaving, who are never coming back?
I'm unsubscribing. Yeah, it's like it's not an airport. You don't have to announce your departure.
Sometimes they go, are these guys somehow supporting Trump? I don't understand what's going on here in this channel. They're watching it for years, and they just go, what's with these two guys all of a sudden? Like we woke up. Okay, I'm going to ring the bell, and then who's ever left in this universe, put down that hero sandwich and subscribe to the channel so we can have a life. That needle has not moved in like 6 months, or whoever's not subscribing. We know who's not subscribing, and we're going to rectify that right now with what I call the bell of justice. Now, you can put it on your finger. You could see this at home. This is a massive finger bell that is only designed. This was designed in South Korea by scientists in 1953. I am going to hit this only once because of the power of the bell. And who's ever left, and I'm sure there are some people out there who just said, Mark, Eric, I love you guys, but it's against my religion to subscribe. to anything because I am a born-again cockamamie. And the born-again cockamamies is an odd religion that I respect, but I think in this particular case, you will be able, it's kind of like a special dispensation from the Pope, okay? Or eating meat on Friday. Occasionally you get a dispensation from the Pope. Eric and I are going to cut through this bullshit and give you a dispensation today to allow you to subscribe when you hear the bell, not before. You got to wait for the bell. You know, we had a lot of fight analogies today, and this is the bell for the next debate. Okay, when this bell sounds, it's going to also allow you to subscribe and watch the next debate, hopefully September 10th. Okay, here we go. And it lights up. Okay, this is pretty good. It lights up at the same time I do the bell. Okay, so now you can subscribe. Eric and I are leaving to go over to
Locals.
unstructured.locals.com.
Correct.
And where we will talk dirty talk and all kinds of blue humor that we can't say here, S words and other things I'll explain about Saipan and the Japanese and some other stuff that Eric gets nervous about, rightfully so, over there, when we go over there to Locals. Now that you subscribe, we'll see you over there. Okay.